Thank you, sir.
so much.
Go out with the other young
I think he
people.
still did plan.
I did want to say that what a wonderful thing it is to invest in our future generations and our future people the young people that are coming into the workforce. It's such a great time well spent. So I'm very proud of the program that's done. Next item on the agenda is the public comment. Any audience members that wish to address the board on any item not already on the agenda may come forward at this time. Please state your name and general location, town or township of residence, in order to balance the need for and desire for citizen input. With the necessity of disposing the board's regular business items, speakers will be asked to allow 3 minutes to address the board. To avoid repetitiveness, groups of people supporting or opposing the same positions are encouraged to select a spokesperson. Public comment is a listening opportunity to the board. To hear your thoughts and concerns of the public, it's not intended for the board to respond in any way for impromptu questions or for political purposes. All right. Who would like to be first?
Good evening, Commissioners. Will Bird, out of Smithfield. Can we put anything on the screen by chance, paper to look?
Allow 3 minutes to address the board. To avoid repetitiveness, groups of people supporting or opposing the same positions are encouraged to select a spokesperson.
While they're getting started, one of the things that I've spoke about here before and with the public as well is my concerns over the quarry and pumping water from the Neuse River into that quarry from a PFAS contamination to groundwater there. And what I have here tonight, once they get that, will I think maybe raise some questions or maybe answer some questions. Okay, it's fine. So this first page, so this is going back to the initial approval process, and I don't know if there's been anything since these approvals were given from the Division of Water Quality. This page, particular page, is about the quarry itself and DWQ approval of that and the groundwaters and such as that. This approval took place April 12th, 2011. If we could go to the next page, please. The second page is on the pull side, if you will, from pumping from the Neuse River at Richardson Bridge out of Baldy Creek, or just downstream of Baldy Creek, into the quarry. This as well, same datage, if you will, from April 12th. Back in 2011. Next page. Now, here's the issue I find, and I'm not saying I'm 100% correct, but this is what I can find as far as data. Now, PFAS testing. Systematic PFAS testing in the Neuse River Basin officially began in May 2020. The NC Department of Environmental Quality, DEQ, launched a specialized study targeting abatement lakes and public drinking water supply reservoirs to characterize the presence of emerging compounds. At the time the initial testing for the quarry and the river was done, at least what I can find, we didn't even know PFAS existed. So to me, that's a null and void testing right now. I think we need to get that under control before we start pumping a lot of money into cost surveys to see what it's going to cost to do all the pipe work and facilities there. If you could go to the next page. And one thing, you know, the public through this year especially has just wanted to be heard. And I think it's time to be heard. And that's what we're working towards starting today. My name is Will Bird, W-I-L-L-B-Y-R-D. I'm in District 5. I now have my name in the hat as a write-in candidate for JOCO Commissioner. When you guys vote, if you will vote, please remember to bubble in the bubble on the vote as well and write my name in correctly. And I will listen to y'all. Y'all know I will. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Byrd. Anyone else would like to speak in public comment? Come please, state your name and town.
Eddie Road, Boone Hill Township, Princeton, North Carolina. Let me give you this handout. I'm not running for county commissioner. Just Will. Will's a good guy. So I'm a hog farmer from Princeton, Johnston County. And so last month, I was out of town. I saw the planning board passed a preliminary subdivision, Planter's Ridge, that's 50 feet from a hog lagoon. So, well, I came before you guys today because, if a hog farmer like me don't stand up and let you guys understand what we go through. So when I built my hog farm, we have to go through a general statute. That's what I printed off today. So General Statute 106-803. This is state law. So when I built my hog farm, I had to be 1,500 feet from occupied residence. I had to be 2,500 feet away from a school, hospital, church, or any outdoor recreation facility, national park, state park. I had to be 500 foot from any property line. I had to be 500 foot from a well, supplying drinking water to the public or to another house. So this was what I did back in the 90s, 95, 97. So then I watched the planning board online, pass this subdivision, approve this subdivision. It's 50 foot from a hog lagoon. So there's a reason the state of North Carolina made me build my hog farm 2,500 foot from a school, 2,500 foot from a hospital, 2,500 foot from a church, and also 1,500 foot from residence. Because there's my farm is 6,000 pigs. I got a lagoon that's probably 10 acres big. So to think about a subdivision being able to be built 50 feet from my lagoon would drive me into mental insanity. So the reason I'm coming here today is because I know the county attorney. She did her due diligence and she researched it, and she's correct. These rules are one-sided. These rules are for me, the pig farmer, not for development. But each county has the ability to come up with zoning. They have each county has their way of path of zoning to make it where these ordinance can be, for everybody. So if you flip to the second page, I'll read you the second page. So the second page is Duplin County. So North Carolina is number 2. North Carolina has the second largest pigs state of the United States is North Carolina. Duplin County is the number 1 county in the state of North Carolina. So Duplin County, that says the county's UDO, Unified Development Ordinance, requires that new residential dwellings created through subdivisions cannot be established within 1,000 feet of the existing poultry, dairy, or swine facility. This rule is intended to reduce conflicts between livestock operations and new residential development. So I know that the county, you have to go by the rules and regulations that we have in place. And this ordinance, the statute that I have to go by, is for me, the hog farmer, not for the landowner, or not for the subdivision owner. So whenever I listened to the guy, the engineer last month, he said in front of the whole county, in front of YouTube, he says that it's the homeowner's obligation that buys the home to know what he's buying and what's in proximity of the house he buys. So you're building a new subdivision, 50 foot from a hog lagoon, and yet do you think that anybody's going to know there's a hog lagoon there? You think the developer's going to say, hey, lot number 8 and 9, congratulations, you just bought a farm, you just bought a house 52 foot from a hog lagoon? Of course they're not going to do that. So my recommendation for the county is just to you need to table any subdivision that comes up to the county until we get a UDO pass. Anything that's built on near a hog farm should be tabled. So that's why I came here today, just to because I don't think that even the county, I don't even think you guys probably didn't even see the statute. You may or may not have known about it, but it's just me as a farmer. Farmers are really good at what we do, but we're really farmers are really good at growing things and doing what they do, but they're really bad at keeping up with meetings and everything, so. Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
thanks a lot.
All right, anyone else who'd like to speak in public comment, state your name and township or town for the record, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Donald Pittman. I'm from Four Oaks. Talking about the Johnston County UDO, we all have been made aware of what it governs and what it's designed to do for rezoning, subdivision, land use, decisions. But it seems like there's stuff as far as how it all ties together, like some things that are missing, some clarity, some words that are just, in some cases, it seems like it's designed to confuse us and keep us in a odd loophole instead of just getting down to the what can I do and what can I do. We trusted you guys to do these things, and we have the public hearings, and we listen to the people that are saying these things, but some of the things like legal provisions, for example, like, have there been any revisions that have been made aware to anybody that we've been promised? Those were promised I think 2 months ago, and we haven't seen anything. So even some of the things that we're bringing up now, we have nothing to go off. We've been left in the dark. So if I bring it up and you guys are like, well, that's already been changed. Well, it's not a aha, got you. It's you guys failed to inform us. And now, we got the egg on our face, right? So when that comes across and the lack of clear legal protection, it increases the risk of appeals and challenges to county decisions, claims of unequal or arbitrary enforcement, developer litigation, uncertainty to vested rights, difficulty defending the county's actions in court. I've got a really nice printed out thing, but what it boils down to is it's hard sometimes, and it has just hit home for me and my family where a subdivision is being proposed, and I get to come up here tomorrow night as well and speak on behalf of my land and stuff like that. I've heard you guys say many, many times that you are for the farmer and you're for the citizen and you're for these entities. But it seems like the only people that are maintaining and gaining more ground and more rights are the developers. And it makes me sad to know that we have to uproot maybe our way of life, our living, our livelihood for a developer who comes in, for somebody who sold their land who had never intended to live there. That's their prerogative. They're looking for a payday. They're looking for all the things, but yet it's butted up 10 foot from our property line. And because we can't agree on a UDO and setbacks and berms and blah, 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 right? Now, if Johnny and Susie come over to my property and they get hurt because they're trespassing me, who've done nothing wrong, I'm held liable. There's nothing that protects the citizen for somebody who basically, for all intents and purposes, kind of invaded our property. Just like a locked door is an invitation to a crook, a no trespassing sign is an invitation for somebody to trespass. I encourage you guys I know that you guys ran on I'm there for the person, I'm there for the citizen, I'm there for all these things, because I don't think you would have got far if you said, I'm here for the developer, boys, and we're going to do all the things for developers. Get your bulldozers ready. We're going to take everything away. I don't think you guys would have lasted in those seats very long. So I just challenge you guys to look at what's best for the little guy, because at the end of the day, we want to maintain and keep our rights too. It's not, this UDO is a horrible idea. There are some things in there that are, if you've taken the time to read it and kind of see it, once you put your pitchfork and your torch away, there are some things in there that would help us. It's the restrictions that you're trying to impose on us that we have a problem with. And, you know, help us do the right thing and make it work for everybody, not just one interest of group, and make it make sense.
Okay.
So, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else who'd like to speak during public comment? Come on forward, sir. How you doing?
I'm all right.
Good. State your name and tell
Leon
the town.
Cobb, Buffalo Road above Archer Lodge. I was in here a month and a half ago and had a question or what I thought was legitimate concern about zoning enforcement officers kind of snooping around and watching driveways and basically hiding. And that was a month and a half ago. And I asked the question then, is this intimidation or retaliation for a citizen that maybe steps out of line? And it's been a month and a half and I've heard nothing.
Okay. County manager will reach out to you.
No, I asked the question on the record. I'd like an answer on the record.
The public comment is a time for us to hear from you.
Okay.
And it's not a time for us to have questions and answers. I'd be happy to contact you afterwards. We can talk about it and see what, I don't know of any retaliation the county.
Well, I'm
doing.
just asking, is that what we can expect?
I'm going to offer you a solution. We can meet with the county manager and talk about whatever your concerns are. We'll be happy to do that.
Okay.
All right.
But I think since January the 20th, there's been a good waking up in this county. And people are starting to realize that the biggest threat to our life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness is not a Ayatollah in Iran or crooked politician in Washington or Raleigh. It's right here. Our everyday life is right in this room of what threatens our life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Anyone else who'd like to speak during public comment? Please state your name for the record, town or township, please, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Good evening, residents of Johnston County. My name is Mark Smith, and I have been a proud resident of Johnston County all my life, nearly 30 years. In all that time, I've never heard of a proposed infringement of our rights quite like this UDO. In my opinion, the most important of our rights is the Second Amendment, followed closely by the First. The First Amendment ensures that we, the people, have the right to speak against the actions of our government that does not represent us. The Second Amendment ensures that we have the right to back up those words with force if necessary. The proposed UDO has what are, in my opinion, clear intentions to limit the training, education, and proper use of firearms in Johnston County to only its wealthiest citizens, not all of them. Starting on page 245 of the UDO, a gun range / training area requires a minimum of 50 acres to be purchased, which carries the price tag around $2.5 million. This obviously does not include the additional cost associated with permitting, materials, surveying, and taxes on such large plots of land. On page 181, it stipulates that both indoor and outdoor ranges will be severely limited to where they can be constructed by the new zoning laws. I believe that these new restrictions are designed to put such an upfront cost on shooting ranges that it prices many knowledgeable people out of training others in a safe environment. These changes will incentivize groups of people to shoot in an unregulated and dangerous fashion instead of controlled and structured training or classes like those found at small training centers. Knowing all of this, I ask the commissioners, what are y'all trying to accomplish with this UDO? Are you trying to restrict the right of every man to keep and bear arms and be well regulated or trained in their use, or to limit that right to just those who have the money to exercise it? On Sunday, yesterday, I was on a range that is approximately 5 acres wide and a little longer than shorter. Within that 5 acres, we were able to very safely trained with the use of a good burn, a good instructor, to shoot all day long. We shot hundreds of rounds in a safe manner. You putting these restrictions on the people does not give anyone except for people who already have the money, the land, or the opportunity to get this amount of land, and corporations. And this amount will also push people who maybe cannot afford the local gun club or whatever they're going to bring it into. So, I ask you again, are you intending to restrict the right of every man to keep and bear arms and be well regulated or trained in their use? Or to limit that right to just those with the money to exercise it? I thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Smith.
you.
All right, anyone else who'd like to speak during public comment? Please state your name and town or township for the record, please, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Malika Bird, and I am in District 5, and my husband is Will Bird, who is running in District 5. I just have a few questions really quick. One is concerning the upcoming proposed UDO revision, will there be any livestock or poultry restrictions for properties that are not bona fide farms? Can you not answer that?
Well, it's public comment, Ms. Bird, and you know how this works.
No,
You can stand there for 3 minutes and talk about whatever you want to, as long as you stay within.
Okay, I didn't know if you can't answer. That's why I
Now,
whispered it.
typically, no, but
Okay.
we can get you answers to any questions that you have. We'd be happy to do that.
Okay, well, I'll ask my other two questions,
Yeah, go
and then
right ahead,
I'll let
sure.
you get me the answers.
Yeah, that'd
But I
be
didn't know
fine.
you couldn't answer that,
That'd be
because we've
fine.
actually communicated
Well,
during these
well, we
meetings.
never know what somebody's gonna ask, so we typically just try to
Okay.
leave it at that. So
That's
go
fine.
right ahead.
That's fine, you're good.
Yeah, sure.
All right, will there be any greenhouse, produce, farm stand, or any other agriculture items restricted by this revised UDO? And has the county commissioners approved any revisions for the UDO that has been given by the planning board or stakeholders? And the reason why I ask that is because we haven't seen anything. And then one last thing, and I just want everybody to understand one of the reasons why this UDO kind of really hits hard for us. My husband and I, well, my husband comes from a 4-generation farm. And that farm, and this comment's been made a lot, and this comment has really hurt us, because the comment's been made, well, we're not telling the farmers to sell the land. You're not. But the land that we rented, or the land that we had our farm on, was rented, and it was rented for 4 generations. We had cattle, we had hay. That was our livelihood. My husband was born and raised on that farm. We raised our children on that farm. And that landowner had a developer from this county come to them and say, hey, we want to buy this land, offer them all this money. We're not rich. We don't have money. We tried to buy some of that land. Our daughter tried to buy 100 and some acres of that land. This was a 600 and some acre farm. They wouldn't sell it to us because it wasn't fitting for their pocket. Unfortunately, we had to sell our farm and our livelihood. We are no longer farmers. My husband works for a man. This UDO affects so much for people like us. Now, we have a farm, but it's nothing like we had. It's not 100 and some cattle. We're not out there doing hay. The sad part about this is my husband and I have always lived to where we save every penny, nickel, and dime, and then we go and buy what we want. We were getting old equipment and fixing it up, so we didn't have to take out loans. We didn't go to the bank and get a loan. We saved everything we could so we could have our farm and build our farm up. We had just paid off our tractor years early because we took every penny, not going on vacations, not doing anything but farming. We just paid it off. We were so proud that we were going to be able to sit back and start making money. And not even a week later, we were told that our farm was being sold. And then I couldn't go see my husband load every cattle up on that trailer. To load every cow up on that trailer and to know that our livelihood of working our tails off to get the best genetics we could get was being taken away from us because this county approved a development. It's got to stop. Y'all have got to start looking and seeing what's happening to the people in this community. Not everybody owns the land. We work the land. There's a difference. And we still have a little farm, but it's nothing like it was. We cannot make a living off of that. And it's just sad that we've come to this point in Johnston County that we are no longer farmers, but we're hobby farmers. And that is sad, and I just ask you guys to please reconsider this UDO and reconsider what you're doing to this county and reconsider these developments. It needs to stop. It really needs to stop. And then I would appreciate if you would get back to me with these 3 questions that I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burton. Anyone else who would like to speak during public comment? Come on forward, sir. How you doing? Please state your name and town or township for the record.
Carl Holloway, Elevation Township. I probably need someone, you maybe contact someone, explain something to me.
Okay.
I just was curious about why, when you go to the polls and vote in your precinct there, and then there's like Mr. Lauder and his challenge in the primary. He covers Clayton, a different district, which I'm not in that. So I just wonder why he's even on a ballot. Is there a special equation to that? Or maybe instead of that, your area on the ballot, why wouldn't it Mr. Godwin's area instead from Kinley? How them decisions get made? Also, I've done a little research and looked to see a lot of the county commissioners, they're on various other committees or things. There was this thing called a stakeholder thing, and you even got the county commissioner on the stakeholders. This county's got a lot of people in it. Business people, not just farmers, agribusiness people. There are a lot of people that play a large role in the agricultural industry, from the seed to the mouth. And just, I just am concerned about some of those things, and I'm afraid that my area, we see growth, sure, been going on for a long time. I benefit from some of it, and but you just feel like it's a one size fits all. I watched the Nash County meeting on the computer. 7 members, 2 women, 5 men, but they got you beat because, damn, they're spread out. They got a nice big place with plenty of room, people go in that sit. Those are some of my concerns. I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes, but, I just feel like you take them kind of things I spoke about, and you get your red, white, and blue flyers packed in your mail so tight you can't get the mail out before time to vote, and you don't. It's times have changed, but people like me haven't changed in this county, and that's all I want to say to you.
Thank you, Mr. Holloway. If you'll get with the county manager there and get your number, we'll get you some answers to your question. Thank you, sir. Anyone else who'd like to speak during public comment?
Yes, sir. Good to meet you. Carl, C-A-R-L, Holloway, H-O-L-L.
Please state your name and town or township for the record, ma'am, please.
Christine, Cyber Scout, Livingston, McGee's Crossroads area. Tonight, I'm speaking directly to the citizens of Johnston County, and I hope you're listening. On May 29th, I received the county's personnel policy manual through a public records request. That document is the official version the county provided. On May 31st, I made a simple public comment online saying it was a good read. Then on June 4th, I publicly reported that Section 6, the county's nepotism policy, had been violated. That section clearly prohibits immediate family members of certain county officials from being hired or employed in permanent positions. That rule has been in place for several years. Now, here's where every citizen needs to pay attention. There appears to be another version of the PPM dated June 15th, 2026, which contains a new clause stating that the nepotism rule would not apply retroactively to any relative currently working for the county or anyone who had filed for election at the time of the adoption. That clause does not appear in the original version I received on May 29th. I am currently awaiting the county's official confirmation of whether this June 15th, 2026 modification actually occurred. But according to the agendas that I have looked over for May, June, and tonight, I was unable to find where it was ever publicly discussed about changing if it was in fact changed, or voted on or approved. Doesn't mean I didn't miss it. Yet Section 3 of the policy is very clear. Only the Board of Commissioners can establish or change human resource policies. No staff member can do it. No department can do it. No one can insert a clause behind the scenes. A violation of the nepotism policy did in fact exist, and now there appears to be a version of the policy, again, dated June 15th, 2026, that conveniently shields anyone who's already involved. To me, if this did in fact occur, this looks like classic CYA. The bureaucratic technique of averting future accusations of policy error or wrongdoing by deflecting responsibility in advance. It's a way of diffusing responsibility for one's actions as a form of insurance against future negative repercussions. And when government policy suddenly changes in a way that protects the people already affected by a violation, citizens have every right to ask why. If that modification is for real, and it was done without public vote, that is not how the government is supposed to work. Johnston County deserves policies that are followed, changes that are made in the open, and leadership that respects the rules it expects everyone else to follow. So tonight I'm asking the citizens of this county to pay attention. I'm asking this board to explain whether this policy was changed, when it was changed, who authorized it, and why it was not brought before the public. Transparency is not optional. It is the foundation of public trust. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Livingston. Anyone else who'd like to speak during public comment? All right.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, please state your name and town or township for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Arquette Turnage. I'm actually a fellow for the Johnston County Down Home, North Carolina chapter, and I just came to speak on behalf of the Johnston County Down Home, North Carolina chapter to express our gratitude for your willingness to meet with us and discuss the importance of transparency. We feel strongly on the importance of this as we prepare to endure funding cuts coming from the Big Beautiful Bill, in addition to the constitutional amendments that cap property and income tax at a dangerously low rate if they pass. And we're looking forward to collaborating with you guys to further increase transparency around these cuts in Johnston County. And that's it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Livingston. All right. Anyone else who'd like to address the board in public comment? All right, seeing no one else, Madam Clerk, any emails that need to be mentioned?
No, sir.
All right, sounds great. Thank you so much. All right, item number 4 on the agenda is the Johnston Regional Airport Authority presentation. Director David Harris is here to present. I think Mr. Harris is here somewhere, perhaps out in the hallway. Yep, there they come. Fantastic. They brought the whole crowd with them, including the chairman. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman,
Good evening.
other board members, commissioners. I'm Ken Starling, Chairman of the Johnston County Airport Authority. I'd like to thank you for giving us the opportunity to be here, present our latest project. On behalf of the Airport Authority, we're requesting your support for the local matching investment needed to leverage a federal grant funding that we have applied for a new digital air traffic control tower at Johnston Regional Airport. For those who don't fly, it's easy to think of the airport simply as a place where airplanes take off and land. In reality, Johnston Regional Airport is an important asset that serves all the citizens of Johnston County. It supports economic development, creates opportunities for businesses, provides critical public safety services, and helps strengthen our community. Over the past several years, Johnston Regional Airport has experienced significant growth, and that has become the busiest general aviation airport in North Carolina. We're number 3 for total airports, but we are the busiest general aviation airport. And that growth has not happened by accident. The Airport Authority has worked with our airport director and countless others to strategically plan for the airport's future, and this digital control tower is the next step in that long-term vision. This project will enhance safety and efficiency while positioning us to attract additional corporate aviation, create new jobs, generate additional property tax revenues that goes to Johnston County through aircraft and businesses based at our airport. We're proud to expand the services the airport provides to our citizens, including Duke Life Flight, North Carolina State Highway Patrol Special Operations Center, along with other air medical transport services, are all based right here in Johnston County. These critical public safety resources provide a quick response when our citizens need it most and demonstrate the value that this facility brings to our entire community. Just a moment, our Airport Director, Dave Harris, will explain the operational and technical need for the tower. I simply just wanted to emphasize that this project is about much more than aviation. It's an investment in public safety, economic growth, and the future of Johnston County. Thank you for your consideration, and I'll turn it over to Dave.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and other board members. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm going to try to give you enough background to understand what it is, the need for the tower, as well as the opportunity that's been presented to the county to save a dramatic amount of money by going through this particular procurement effort. So as the chairman said, we are the 3rd busiest airport overall in North Carolina. With that, the airspace complexity, drives the congestion around the airport. When you marry that up with the diversity of the flight operations and the aircraft types that we have out there, that's what's creating, an environment that's just as dangerous as what we saw up in D.C. last year when they had the accident where the helicopter came together with the airliner. In our case, we're the cradle of building, the next commercial aviators through our flight training program. We're providing the emergency services with our helicopters. When someone's in need, the fastest way they're going to get that need is with a helicopter launching out of Johnston Regional. Same thing with our business jets, connecting the county economically with the rest of the region. At this point in time, Johnston Regional is an uncontrolled or non-towered airfield. Coming across my desk on a daily basis are near-miss accidents. To give you a story to kind of ground you in how busy that airfield is, most of you know I was a naval aviator for 20 years. Not much scares me in the air. I've been landing on aircraft carriers for most of my adult life. And the first time that I came into Johnston Regional in my own airplane, I almost diverted back to Raleigh because that environment and the way it operates with aircraft just flying the way they desire to, vice in a controlled manner via the tower that most airports have that are this busy, is what's creating that particular need, that unsafe environment. So the traffic at Johnston Regional and within the national airspace, it's only increasing. We've gone from 80,000 operations per year to 105,000 operations per year in just the last 4, and positive control is more and more critical. Looking at the actual numbers, you can see 2023 we're at 90,000. 2026 we're looking at 105,000. We're having peak operations around 500. So to put that in context, that's one aircraft taking off or landing every minute over our typical 9-hour flight day. Again, in context, when we were operating on the aircraft carrier, as fast as we could go was one airplane every 45 to 60 seconds. And those were professionals in a controlled manner versus what we have out at the airfield, which is everything from flight students all the way through our business aviators, all mixed together without any type of control. The traditional solution to this type of thing is a tower, as you see in the picture on the display there. Staffed with people standing up there looking out the window, and the cost is very high. At roughly $24 million is what we were expecting to have to come up with to pay for our tower at Johnston Regional. The time to get to an operational status, we were looking at as much as 5 years from today. The capability is you're servicing just a single location with no economies of scale with this type of tower. The board and I have been leaning forward for a couple of years and looking at a more modern solution, which is a digital tower. So it looks like a lattice steel tower, like a cell tower. So you can imagine a much lower cost for the tower itself, operating, modern cameras and all your controllers in a facility to see the feed. It results in a lower cost. We're looking at roughly $12 million in total for this installation, vice the 24 we were talking about. Dramatically reduced timeline. That's a typo. We're going to talk about an opportunity to bring that down to a year, and the potential to support up to 3 airports. This is what it looks like, just for your awareness. So on the top left, you can see operating in daytime, the digital screens with all of the cameras up. On the top right, that's the nighttime view. Those aren't lights in the top right. That's a digital overlay that brings increased awareness and situational awareness to the controllers as to what's going on the field. The bottom left, you can see some more of that with the digital overlays highlighting the runways, the taxiways, even putting in the projected flight path of the aircraft. And on the bottom right, you can see the digital information coming in for the other aircraft. None of those capabilities exist in a traditional tower at twice the cost. So we're getting half the cost and much more capability out of this type of a system in a much shorter time frame. Again, this shows you some more of the enhanced capabilities of this type of tower. So the overall comparison, if we were to... Yes, sir.
The camera actually picks up that image and notes what it is.
Yes, sir. The camera, triangulates its location and takes the data coming in off of the ADS-B tracking of the aircraft, and it combines the two to give the human a much better picture of what's happening out there. Yes, sir. So again, there's your comparison. From a cost standpoint, we're looking at about half the cost. The timeline, we could have this up and running by the end of next year versus 5 years from now, and the potential to support up to 3 airports within the region. So greater capability on a shorter timeline and at reduced cost. So beyond the safety aspect, which is enough, the discussion can anchor itself more than it needs to just on the safety aspect of making this investment. But beyond that, the economic benefit of the airport to the county can't be understated. For each additional business jet that we bring into the airport, and we will with a tower, there's undoubtedly, we talk to the business jet operators on a daily basis, and the operators are as concerned with operating around Johnston Regional as I was. Any of the professional aviators will attempt to avoid that type of congestion without a tower to give them the positive control that they need. So as we bring in the tower, we'll get more business jets coming in. For each one that we bring in at a base value of $5 million, it generates $26,000 in annual tax revenue, which is the equivalent of 17 homes being added to the county. So without all of the infrastructure tail that comes with those 17 homes, we're bringing the goodness of those tax dollars. And right now we're contributing $334,287 in county tax revenue without the added costs of water, power, and wastewater that you would get with the homes. So tremendous benefit to the county. So the opportunity that we're talking about today, we were on a path, looking to build the funding necessary over the 5-year period to build the traditional tower until the opportunity came out from the FAA in a request for proposals back in the middle of April. Through the Big Beautiful Bill, $36 million in total funding was awarded to be split across as many airports as they can to outfit them with this type of digital tower technology. It's been earmarked specifically for non-towered airports, which we are, rural or small communities, which we obviously are, and non-federal towers already in place, which we don't have. It requires a cost-sharing approach, and that's why we're having this discussion tonight, is that $36 million won't go very far in trying to spread this capability across the nation as much as they possibly can. And so they're looking to the states and the local government to provide as much help as possible in bringing this safety and economic benefit to as many counties as they possibly can. The preference is to airports with existing infrastructure, such as a facility to house the controllers and a fiber optic network, which we already have both of those. The state has made that investment in Johnston Regional previously, and we'll note that here in a moment. The overall goal is the lowest cost and technically feasible proposal is going to win, and the proposals went in June. So our strategy was to establish a technical interchange with the company that makes the technology. So Frequentis is the name of that company. They've entered into an agreement with us to work with us to lower the cost of the equipment as much as they possibly can, and to work with us over time to ensure that the installation is as positive as possible. As well, we're partnering with Elizabeth City State University and their air traffic control training infrastructure to support their programs there. We've built the most capable team we can with Ardura, Jacobs, and the only engineering firm that's ever installed a digital tower, which is Hansen, has also come onto our team to help us with this installation. The last piece of this is the winning cost-sharing plan that we're going to talk about here at the very end. What we're doing is we're requesting all of the equipment costs from the FAA, and we're looking for a commitment from the state, which we have, and a request to the county tonight for the construction costs. We already have a resolution from the Airport Authority to support all of the operational and staffing costs, which are quite considerable, that'll come straight out of the airport's operational revenue. So the chart up here is a bit of an eye chart. Don't expect anybody to read it. What I want you to take away from it is the airport's been working towards this, the Airport Authority, since early '24. So over 2 years now, we've been working to put all of the pieces in place, all of the investments. We said the state's already invested over $5 million into this effort. We're down there in 26, and you can see just barely a year out from being able to bring this safety and economic benefit to the county. So this is the diagram above of the airport. So you can see the control room is already in place. That's the building that a lot of you came to the groundbreaking last year, and right next to the terminal building. And then across the way is the remote tower location that we would install at. So there's the building in the top right that we just referenced. You can see the floor plan on the left, and it's all ready to go, where we just take down some walls that are in place. And you can see in blue the outline of the actual control facility that would go in while maintaining the offices around it. It has the capability for growth. So shown here, we can see we could support another airport, such as Raleigh Executive or Raleigh North, and it can even go to a third airport. There's a tremendous amount of support already out there. Representative Brad Knott has provided a letter to the FAA, as well as this particular effort to support Johnston Regional getting this tower and the funding. Johnston County wrote a letter supporting us as well. Johnston County Economic Development, Duke Light Flight, as we discussed, it's critical to them that we keep that airspace safe, that they can get to those emergencies as fast as they need to. Blue Line Aviation, Triangle Aviation Solutions, Elizabeth City, and then the provider of the technology itself. When you look at the assessment criteria, so this is a question, so would be, will this be successful? So the answer is, as much as I can, tell you that it can be, it will be. Looking at the assessment criteria that the FAA is going to put on this, you can see Johnston Regional is all green, except for the one thing we can't control. The length of our runway is a little bit longer than they would like to see, but we score the highest possible in every other category. So getting down to the ask, so the proposed cost sharing summary that we've built out. So The North Carolina legislature in the first line, is providing funding for construction and infrastructure and facilities. Those funds have already been executed, just over $5 million. North Carolina Department of Transportation in their June board meeting committed for design, environmental, and obstruction clearing an additional $1.25 million specifically for this tower program. The Federal Aviation Administration, the request is the digital tower equipment through the RFP that I referenced. That is the opportunity, and that can be up to $10 million contribution from the FAA. The request to Johnston County tonight is for the construction costs for the equipment and fiber optic installation and modifications to the facility to support. Looking at a total of $4.5 million with 2 3/4 in fiscal year 27 and 1 3/4 in fiscal year 28, which would get us operational by the end of next year. The Johnston County Airport Authority, as I said, has already resolved and has committed funds of up to $500,000 per year out of its operational budget in order to staff and maintain the facility. I said a lot in a short period of time. Do you have any questions for me, sir?
Any questions for Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Harris, thank you for coming on and explaining this proposal.
Yes, sir.
First and foremost, I think the concept of a manless tower is cost effective. I have some questions though, because there's a fairly significant cost to Johnston County.
Yes, sir.
And you said this system has the capability of controlling up to 3 separate airports.
Yes, sir.
Have those other 2 airports been identified that possibly would benefit from this?
So when you look around the region, it's up to the FAA to determine who meets the criteria. And we have 2 airports in the region that do meet the criteria beyond us. One would be the Raleigh Executive down in Sanford. The other one would be Raleigh North up in Lewisburg. They're both already over the traffic count to meet this requirement. So step 1 is we needed the facility of a size that can do it, which we acquired last fall. Step 2 would be we would need to get our tower installed and certified, and then step 3 would be to reach out to other counties to share our facility moving into the future, which will lower their costs, not our costs.
Well, that was my question. I
Yes,
said,
sir.
what skin in the game are they going to have, both from a capital and operating standpoint, for this fairly significant investment?
Yes, sir, and that's a fair question that would go to, if they don't have to build a $5 million facility to house their controllers and they're relying upon our facility without that cost, it would be the negotiation to discuss they're paying rent for that facility.
Okay. As far as staffing of the control node, it would be at our airport. There's a personnel cost that goes with it, I presume, because that's where you're going to have people there. But as it picks up these other 2 airports, then it's going to increase the work demand and possibly the recurring costs for personnel. I would think they would have to pay an appropriate cost share in that regard as well.
Absolutely. There's no suggestion at all that Johnston County nor Johnston Regional Airport would be supporting the others through any type of, revenue or, cost sharing in that regard. It's not going to be a cost to us for them to have the cost savings. This is more of a looking at it from a state or a regional level. When we're talking to the legislator, DOT, that they would be looking at it from the viewpoint of they don't need to invest in a $24 million tower or another $12 million facility like ours when they can merely invest in the
Yeah.
equipment.
And they basically be looking at a tower at their site that has the equipment on it, and
Yes, sir.
everything would feed back through fiber to the control center.
Yes, sir. It's an opportunity.
Couple more questions. How much of Blue Line's takeoff and landings figures into the air traffic counts at this site?
So there's no question that it's a tremendous, piece of the traffic count from just a pure takeoff and landing standpoint. So they run about 70% of the traffic in the airspace. They account for over 90% of the fuel sales, supporting our operational revenue on the avgas side of the house. The real need, though, comes in the complexity of our airspace. So it's not just, with Blue Line just going around in circles doing takeoffs and landings, I can handle that all day long. That's predictable, that's easy. But when you add in Duke Life Flight on an emergency, launch where they've got to just depart the airfield as quickly as possible or return to the airfield to get fuel and go back, when you have State Highway Patrol having to launch for emergency services as well, and then you combine that with all of the business jet traffic that's operating at a different speed on different altitudes, the complexity alone without the increased traffic is enough to warrant a tower.
But Blue Line is the lion's share of the traffic that is being used as a justification why this need is pronounced as it is.
So when the FAA calculates it, they calculate what's called a BCR, which is a benefit cost ratio. And so ours is a 1.37. So anything above a 1, it meets the criteria for the FAA to say this particular airport needs a tower. And
let me ask you a hypothetical in that
Yes,
regard. Say Blue Line decides we're pulling out of North Carolina. We're not going to train here anymore. They got a place in Florida they've commissioned now, I understand. What does that do to the your need assessment at that point?
Nothing, sir. The next flight school rolls right in. So we've got a waiting list, and that's one of the most prized properties on the airport by ATP flight schools, and we've got a whole list of other ones that approach us on a regular basis that says, if Blue Line ever walks out, we want to come right in. They've got a maintenance facility that we would love, to fill immediately if they were to ever vacate. All of their hangar space, we could bring in business jets as well. Their ramp space, we could be, placing other airplanes.
Okay, so you've got new training partners that are lined up to come here if it's available.
We hold a waiting list that's over 2 years long on every single property on the airport.
That eases my mind quite a bit, and if
Yes,
that Blue Line
I understand.
finds out that they'd rather do business somewhere else.
Johnston Regional Airport is not a one-trick pony that, falls apart, on any one tenant. No, sir.
Let me ask you, just help me with my understanding of your budgeting process. Does the airport operate as an enterprise fund, or is it self-sustaining, or it's supplemented through our tax base?
So the airport's 100% self-sustaining, and we have been, since I've been here and the year prior to me getting here. This past year, we ran a 8.92% net return on investment overall. So we were building our capital fund in the past 2 years. Actually.
Okay. All right. The planes that are based there, you showed a graphic that says that what one corporate jet would bring in terms of tax revenue relative to the number of homes. Is every plane that is hangared there, are they show up on our property tax rolls?
So when they sign a lease, they commit to the fact that that aircraft is considered based at Johnston Regional, and then they flow into the tax base. There are some that, are based in 2 locations, and then it comes down to a calculation to determine where the majority of their time is. But they do sign a lease saying they are based here. And
Okay, so that affirms then that the tax would stay here in Johnston County under those conditions.
Yes, sir.
All right, that's been very helpful. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
One plane versus 17 homes sure got my attention. I have just a curious question, Dave.
Yes, sir.
On this graphic here, I've been in a Stinger missile simulator, and it's 360 degrees.
Yes, sir.
Do you get a 360 degree? It looks like about 270 degrees here.
That's a great pickup. It's 240 degrees that they cover, and one of the beauties of the technology is they have developed a means by which if you follow something off this side of the screen, you pick it up right there,
Okay,
and
so
it's
it's
as
got
if it was 360, which sounds like it would be confusing. It took me about 2 minutes, and I forgot.
It's got to be easier than a carrier.
Yes, sir. And the other thing that's astounding when you look at that is they've also figured out the technology to take that round picture and display a straight runway. Again, it's amazing to see how well it works.
Any other questions for Mr. Harris?
Had a couple.
Go ahead.
Okay, I think I did a little research, I guess, in Leesburg, Virginia, there was a pilot program that FAA did with something similar and then wound up pulling the plug. Since this is something is new, is there any chance at all that all this investment is made and then a year or two down the road, it's not working out and it's scrapped?
Right, so Leesburg's a great example. So Leesburg was one of the original pilot programs, as you referenced. It went exceedingly well. The FAA got to the end of it and said, okay, we love what we saw, now we're going to pull it down, and they took all of the equipment and they moved it to the FAA's research facility in Atlantic City. And so over the last couple of years, they've been exercising the equipment inside their lab in order to get it to a certification point, which is what we're walking towards in the next 30 to 60 days. Administrator Befford, he's the director of the FAA. He's come out publicly and stated that this is the future, that the FAA is, going all in on this, and that is why they moved forward with this RFP. He sees the need as you can see, recognizes that, the underserved communities, the rural, the small communities that don't have towers already need a way to bring that safety element into the airports. And he identified this as the best means to do it and is pushing forward aggressively. So other nations around the world adopted this freely and rapidly, mainly because they didn't have the infrastructure in place that we do in the U.S. Also, they have much more remote areas that they need to deal with. So imagine, the deserts of Africa, where they still have a runway, but they don't necessarily want controllers, trying to live there. And the place that it took off first was Sweden and Norway, where they're up inside the Arctic Circle. Again, they've got a runway up there for emergency services. Now they've just got cameras, and the controllers are living back in Helsinki.
Okay, and the other question I had was, if everything comes through as the proposed cost sharing summary stated, there would not be any financing of any kind. This would be a one-time purchase, right?
Yes.
Is it okay? And because the FFA was up to 10 million, do we see a scenario where there's a gap that the tower doesn't have enough quite to get finished in?
No, sir. The expectation is for Johnston Regional, the FAA's portion is probably going to be in the $5 to $7 million range. They're negotiating directly with the provider for Quintus themselves, so that's a contract that they have, and that's their piece of the contract. We have to come. Johnston Regional has to come to the table with the rest of the cost sharing for the construction of the facility and the rest.
Okay, that's all I had.
Vice Chairman, you have some questions?
I did have a few things. Commissioner Stovall started off where I wanted to start off is if there are two other airports, how do we get them to help pay for some of that $4.5 million? And it sounds like that would be whatever lease, if they worked out to use some there, there wouldn't be any payback to the city. I'm looking at the manager because that'd be great. Typically he likes to have us get paid
He's
back.
who I'd be looking at to bring to a meeting with them as well, sir.
All right, so I think I understood that. And I guess when I look at those numbers, and did you say 12 million is what the cost?
So that would be an expected, go in and wrap it all up. It adds up to more than that right now because you see the up to 10 million just for the equipment cost.
That's where I was going to lead. If there's less than 10 million, if I add it up and get to 12, I think there's only like $1 billion coming from the feds. But if there's less than 10 million coming from them, are you turning around and coming back to us?
No, sir.
To make up the difference?
So our initial $12 million estimate, we already knew that we had acquired the $5 million infrastructure in there, but to be fair to the state, we listed it on the slide tonight so that everyone understands they had spent the money. So.
And I think, any odds of the 4.5 being something less than 4.5 for the 5? I know our manager particularly likes up to, you mentioned up to $500,000 a year, and our manager is pretty consistent on up to 4.5 million. So I didn't know if there's any potential for something less than 4.5.
I'm not sure the last time I saw a construction cost or project come in less than what they quoted, so. But
You already have,
we have
the bid.
estimates from our
Okay.
engineering team that is the
so
number.
is that the same folks who are going to, you going to have bids to install it, or that is engineer,
So that comes,
design, build?
so the airport has an in-house contract engineer through Ardura, and she and her team provided all of the construction costs with our contract engineer team who built the first and only digital tower in the U.S., which is the Hanson team.
Okay.
So
So odds of that going down, since they're the only one out there, probably not great. I'm just trying to,
I wouldn't
continuing
bet on it,
Commissioner
sir.
Stovall here, figure out how we can get some money
Understand.
back out of our investment. And I think that, you answered, I was going to ask about operation and maintenance, but I see you have that in. Is there additional fees that you're going to charge to accumulate the $500,000 a year? I mean, or is that,
That's them breathing down my neck to
Okay.
make this happen.
Okay.
No, sir. With the growth at the airport, so you're well aware, the facility is being built for the State Highway Patrol, as well as a couple other properties that we have acquired over the last few years, has increased our leasable revenue that, we're going to work hard and make that happen.
yeah, and you had mentioned at the start, I think, about being self-sustaining, and I know at least, I think the three in the middle of time on the board, it's been a rare occasion when the airport has had to come and ask for something from us. Is anything that in here that you see that changing over the next few years?
I don't forecast it, sir. I really think we can, meet that commitment and maintain our self-sustaining status. We may not be growing the pond for a couple of years as we're just covering, but we'll make it work.
And anything we've done in the past has been of a capital nature.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for clarifying it. Okay. All right, I don't have anything else. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Mr. Harris? I will say that at least as long back as I can remember, the airport has done a great job of sustaining themselves. I mean, they basically fund themselves with the exception of grant match opportunities. And, I always look at those and say they're coming and asking for a portion of money, but they're bringing a significant portion with them, and we're just asking for a match for it. And so I think it's always a great opportunity to bring funding into the county from other sources, and it requires some investment in the county. So it's, our airport is a tremendous asset to the county, and I was fortunate enough to come out and spend some time with all of you and talk this through and look at it in depth. And it's really a great opportunity to add this safety precaution, which really is what it is for the airport. So, any other questions or discussion for Mr. Harris? Okay. At this time, with the wishes of the board.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve funding for construction costs in the amount of $2.75 million for fiscal year 26-27 and $1.75 million for fiscal year 27-28, subject to federal grant approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to hear from our manager that this is doable in our budget. Monies they're asking for this year and next year.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Stovall, these matching funds, if approved, would be above and beyond the budget that the board just adopted for the new fiscal year. And so we would also probably bring forward a reimbursement resolution that we do from time to time, just so we have the opportunity, if we decided later we wanted to roll this into a financing that we're doing next year with some other bonds.
Yes.
That we have that option. So, yes, sir. I think as long as we can have that option of the possibility of rolling into a financing, I think we'll be fine.
Okay, thanks, sir.
And can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe, I don't know if clarify is the right word on this, but in our evaluation of this year's budget, we did consider this as a possibility in our modeling that we did to make sure that
Yes.
we could afford that. So I just want to let the public know that we didn't just hear it tonight and decide we're going to spend $4.5 million, that we looked into it pending this presentation.
We looked into it, but it was not an actual specific
Yes.
reservation in the budget board.
And when you look at the activities that's been at the airport in recent times with the flight school, the highway patrol, this tower seems to be the next logical step to keep that momentum going and growing.
I will add to that, this, I don't, it's not a surprise. We've been talking about this tower for how many years, Mr. Chairman? 5, 6, 7 years? That the need was there and it was coming, and we just didn't know what it was gonna look like and how fast it was gonna get here and what the total price tag was gonna be. It's certainly not a new topic of discussion, so. Any other questions or comments, any discussion? All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank y'all.
Thank y'all.
All right, item number 5 on the agenda is JCATS, the Johnston County Area Transit System Transportation Plan Update. And our Executive Director, Josh Jensen, is here to present that. Mr. Jensen, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. It's been a minute, so I wanted to just give y'all an update on what we've been doing because we have been busy. First off, in June, we wrapped up Phase 2 construction of our JCATS facility. So that included adding solar-powered canopies to protect the buses in the garage, air conditioning in the garage. And it also included 3 Level 3 EV chargers for just for our infrastructure purposes. And through emergency services, we received a state public safety grant for a whole house generator, and that went live on June 30th. So working with the health department, we now have the ability to use JCATS as a special needs shelter in an emergency. So those are all huge adds to the community, I think, and it was all money brought in from state and federal grants. Just in general speaking, I wanted to give you a few updates, and then I want to talk about one specific thing that's up and coming for the board. But in the last few years, total ridership in this county is up almost 26%. In 2023, we had around 99,000 some rides, and we're going to be around 126,000 for this year. And NCDOT has seen that and recognized the need of Johnston County's growth, so we were awarded 5 additional buses in this past fiscal year, and we have an additional 5 that are supposed to be coming in the current fiscal year to bring our total buses for the fleet up to 47 buses. I also wanted to make the board aware of one thing we ran into last month in June regarding our elderly and disabled transportation. For the first time, we started to run out of funding, so we had to begin rationing rides and prioritizing them based on what they are. So if a person was on dialysis, obviously we're going to give them a ride. Depending on what they need, if they have family or they don't have family in the area, we were taking it case by case. And now that we're in the new fiscal year, we are not rationing rides, but as the growth of this county and the need of this county escalates, we're gonna keep an eye on those numbers. There are some additional funding opportunities that are coming in the next couple of months to help ease that. So I'm not here to ask for some additional funding for that at this time, but maybe in about 6 months I'll have a better idea where we're going to be when it comes to providing elderly and disabled transportation. And I know you know that that's one of the very important services that we provide. And finally, just on a general update, I want to thank you again for your support of Quick Ride in Smithfield and Selma. We're on track again. We haven't closed the year out, but we're on track again to have, that 17,000 ride threshold just in Smithfield and Selma with the 5 mini buses you see running around Monday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. In this area, those funds, in this area, the fares from those rides and the support of the county really make that a success. And we are hoping to expand to other areas in the very near future. One thing with the Smithfield and Selma I wanted to add, we're at 58% work ridership. So we're bringing, of those 17,000 or so rides, 58% of those rides are bringing people to and from work. So you are helping the economy in this community. I get a lot of questions regarding expansion of Quick Ride. You're going to be seeing, I know it's in the final stages of being worked on. The FTA, the Federal Transportation Administration, took a year to determine that JCATS on its own, as we are currently structured as an organization, cannot pull down federal monies directly, because there is new money in Clayton, in the Clayton Flowers area that is now considered a small urban zone by the census. And I did put a map of what that zone looks like in your packet. So that's new urban money coming into the area, and the trips that are in that area, in Clayton and in Flowers, need to be paid for with that new money, because we are going to be seeing a reduction in our rural funding come FY '28 to offset the new money that's coming in on the, in the urban area. So my intentions are to expand Quick Ride over to Clayton when that money becomes available, but that money will also need to supplement trips not covered by other sources within that zone. I mean, I think you all have the map in your packets, but there it is. You can see Highway 42 running through there. So Clayton and out to Flowers, and a small portion of Archer Lodge is within the green zone there that is covered by the new federal money. Right now it's $932,000 a year of funding for that area in green. And fortunately for us, this is the only funding source we will have that rolls over from year to year. So we have up to 5 years to spend this money, where all of my other funding, it's use it or lose it. So it started year one at 932. I believe year two is around 960,000, and year three hasn't been announced yet, but it's coming soon. In anticipation of this, and because of the delays, the year one match is already included in your budget. And I'm hoping to get the details ironed out with this agreement. We're going to be working with the city of Raleigh for them to pull the money down on our behalf until we can figure out a way that we're able to control the money ourselves. And that may be something like following the airport's lead and looking at becoming a transportation authority, like the airport's an authority. But a feasibility study and a lot of work has to be done before that even becomes a thought. So if you have any questions, I can keep the evening going.
Mr. Chairman. Josh, that fleet of 47 buses, what's the mix? Does that include the quick ride buses?
Yes.
Okay. And how many of those are there?
5.
5, okay.
When we get to 47, it'll be 10.
I got you. Includes the 5 new
The
buses.
5 we're anticipating are the same size as the quick ride buses, and they will be purposed for quick ride in other parts of the county. And the rest of them is a mix of our high top vans that you see, and then we have probably 8 or 9 25-foot buses and 20-some 22-foot buses.
Are the same vehicles shared for the work ride as they are the seniors and the disabled, or is that completely separate?
Mostly separate.
Okay.
So the work rides, well, there's 2 ways we do it. Within Smithfield and Selma, we do it mostly through quick ride. But we do on routes that we regularly run, we call them shared rides. So we may have somebody going from Clayton to Smithfield to work while we're bringing somebody to a doctor's appointment. So we have capacity in our 25-foot buses, I believe, for 16 people.
Mm-hmm. Are the fees the same between
Yes.
the quick ride and the?
Yes, the fare is the same, but more times than not, we have there's the Rural Operating Assistance Program as well that we cover work routes with that, but that money from the state is very limited. So the long and short of it is, if we don't have a way to pay for that ride, it's a $6 fare. But there are a number of different programs that help us pay for the rides. So more people than not don't pay anything, with the exception of quick ride.
Can I keep going? You know which rabbit hole I'm about to go down. So talk to me a little bit more about you having to ration the seniors and disabled rides.
We just started running out of, we weren't going to make it through the year with the funding we had last year. So we started slowing down the amount of, because we get new calls every day for people wanting a ride to an appointment. And it got to be middle of May, and we had to have a conversation about we're not going to get into the middle of June with the funding we have.
Do you have any outside sources or private sources for that type of funding?
That's what we're working on right now. We have 2 sources of funding for the elderly and disabled transportation. One is our federal grant, and you provide the match for that already. The other one is through Campo. They provide money for the part of the county that's within the Campo region. We can only use that money for there. We use the other elderly and disabled for the rest of the county. And I want to say it's around $254,000 from Campo per year, and it's $200,000 for the rest of the county. And we're hoping to increase that. Campo has just made an announcement, there's going to be another round of funding coming out for their elderly disabled transportation program. So I think August 10th, I think, is the first meeting about who's eligible and how we can get that, because they couldn't tell me if I was eligible since I already receive it. I'm hoping that we are, so that will help that part of the county. But the rest of the county is still going to be a challenge.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Jensen?
I had a question. Of the $6, for somebody who's paying $6, what is the actual cost? I mean, the expense, I guess you should say, for a $6 ride on average?
We estimate it to be around $50 an hour.
Okay.
And that's down, I mean, there's downtime, you're sitting, waiting between the rides and pickups and drop-offs, and fuel costs while you're sitting there. But we estimated, and there's a very complicated calculation you can go through, plug it, and it's around 50, 90, 51, right in there.
Okay. So the $6 ride is technically $44 of that is subsidized on top of that?
Well, we're assuming that with one ride an hour, yes, that is correct.
Okay.
We strive to do, obviously, more than one.
If you got 6 on there, you.
Sure, yeah. I know, I was just talking about averages, yeah. Yeah, so of your total budget, those $6 fares, how much of a percentage is that? I mean, I'm sure it's a small number.
It's about a third.
About a third? Okay, more than I thought.
It's 700,000 is what our budget is for Smithfield and Selma, and we estimate about 275 to 300 fares.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Jensen? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, everybody.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is the Capital Expenditure Program, or CPACE, resolution of intent, and our county attorney, Ms. Slusser, will come forth and present that to the board. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Commissioners. I have before you and contained within your packet is a resolution declaring intent of the County of Johnston to participate in the Commercial Property Assessed Capital Expenditure Program, or CPACE. You may recall back in August of 2005, we gave you some information about this voluntary program that is intended to support commercial, industrial, agricultural, and multifamily property owners with access to long-term financing, and this is private financing, for energy-efficient commercial property upgrades. Qualifying improvements include safe drinking water, energy resiliency, and energy efficiency. As of July the 14th, 2025, some things have changed. When I first talked with you about this program, there was only 1 or 2 other counties that were participating. Since that time, 17 counties have elected to participate in CPACE, including Alexander, Brunswick, Buncombe, Chatham, Durham, Edgecombe, Gaston, Greene, Halifax, Henderson, Lenoir, Mecklenburg, New Hanover, Orange, Richmond, Rowan, and Wilson. So those are the counties that are participating now. There are also some cities that are involved, and with Raleigh, the city of Raleigh being the largest city that seems to have accepted a program at this time. Jocelyn and I had the opportunity to talk with Larry Price, who is the executive director and leads this program for the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina. And he gave us examples of 2 recent projects that have utilized CPACE funding. One was the Gateway District automated parking garage in Raleigh. And then there was a Trenton Mills Loft project in Gastonia. And that project converted a historic mill into an 85-unit multifamily apartment complex in downtown Gastonia. So those are 2 successful projects that have moved forward. The purpose of these projects is intended to spur economic development and increase property tax revenues without using public funds. And these upgrades would enhance building value and lower operating costs for property owners. Local governments can join voluntarily, and they bear no financial or legal liability. And the the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina handles all of the program administration, which requires minimal local government effort. The process for adopting a program is to, one, adopt a resolution of intent, and then there are two more steps. If you choose to adopt the resolution of intent, then the board would hold a public hearing on August the 17th at 6 p.m., and after that public hearing, you could consider whether to adopt a final resolution to join the CPACE program. The Economic Development Advisory Board has recommended that the Board of Commissioners adopt this program, and staff respectfully request the approval of the resolution of intent. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I have a couple questions,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman. Counselor, the two examples you had of projects that have gone forward, did you find out where the financing was coming from? Was it conventional banking sources or private sources?
No, they were private equity partners.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Ms. Lesser on the CPACE program?
I've looked into this quite a bit from back in, as Counselor says, 2005. I think she meant 25 a while ago.
2025, that is
Yeah.
correct.
And I don't see a whole lot of positives. I don't see any negatives. I think it's worth looking into becoming part of it, especially if it's one more arrow in our quiver. So towards that end, I move to approve the resolution and call for public hearing on August 17th
Second.
at 6.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you, sir.
Lesser.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right, item number 7 is Department of Social Services Building and Site Improvements. We have Josh Bennett with Mosley Architects to present. Mr. Bennett, how are you this evening, sir?
I'm very well.
Thank you
How
for
about
being here.
yourself? Thank you. Thank you all for having me. Appreciate the time to be with you all. Dana, we ready to go? Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much. Again, thank you all so much for being with us tonight. Want to go over our progress on the Department of Social Services project. This is our presentation for the schematic design package that we've prepared. Essentially, in this process, we are in the first stage of design for the building, completing schematic design, moving forward into design development, and then construction documents. So at this time, we've laid out the building, all of the relevant spaces within the building. We've positioned the building on the site, located parking around that building, and identified all the relevant spaces. And so we're going to walk through that progress. Did I do it wrong? So for tonight, what we do want to discuss, there are a few decisions to be made. First of all would be authorization to proceed with design development, which is the next phase of design that gets us closer to bidding or procuring the construction services. Second is to actually decide how we're going to procure those construction services. You'll remember back in May, we talked about either CMAR or build for that. And then a third item that does bear some discussion is how we're going to address the parking on this site, because there's a significant amount of parking, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. So to start with our scope, to remind everybody of where we are, when we programmed this building a couple of years ago, we were looking at 2 occupied floors of space at about 139,000 square feet, 1 shell space on the 3rd floor, which would serve for our future growth beyond the 20 years that we've programmed for this building. So presumably that will carry us into future generations. And then a total number of programmed positions for the 20-year need of 620. That does not include the amount of people that we would house on the 3rd floor of that building. So it's 620 to get us to 20 years. What we have actually been able to design is right at 139,000 square feet where we anticipated. We have a shell space of about 50,000 square feet. We've been able to provide an additional 8 spaces throughout the building for staff while meeting all of the social services needs. So we're on track. From a site perspective, going back further to our master plan, looking at in the right-hand side there, you'll see our Department of Social Services building, anticipating a future health department to the south. That would use a shared lobby off of the main building. We would have a public entry on the front or the left-hand side, a staff entry on the rear or the right-hand side. There would be a loading dock, and 3 additional staff entries around the northern part of the building. We are still planning and trying to hold space on the site for the administration building and the land use building. Building itself, you'll see here, we've got it color-coded in terms of the actual divisions within the department. So we have the Income Maintenance Division, which is the largest division of the Department of Social Services, a Social Work Division. We do have some small clinical spaces on the first floor. There is a small administration function and a shared function on the left-hand side. You'll see is a large meeting room for over 600 people, and that is divisible into 4 separate spaces. On the second floor, we have the remainder of the spaces, including the rest of administration, mail services, accounting, human resources. Very little public access on this second floor. This red line here that you can see on this slide designates our secure perimeters. And what I mean by that is how far into a building can an individual get. And the first line on the bottom of the page is the lobby, and you come off of the lobby into a waiting room, which is that square on the lower left-hand side, and you'll see another red line along that square. I can get into that lobby, I can access the toilets, and that's it. I can then be permitted back into the second area that's outlined in red, where I can access the meeting room, I can access the interview rooms, and I can access the clinical spaces, but I can't get any further into the building. So this was very intentional, working with your DSS director. She was security and safety for not just the visitors, but her staff was high of mind, and this is an important feature in accomplishing that. And then again, this is a framing plan showing on the second floor. We've got all the structure coordinated, and then this is the third floor shell space that we're showing right now. We are continuing stairs and elevators up. It only makes sense right now to make it easy for a future expansion. I've provided some enlarged plans for us to look at. There's not a whole lot of detail here, but just to be able to show how we're accomplishing all of our space. We have windows around the perimeter of the building. Then we have an open office area inside of that will allow light to penetrate further into the building, where we have our private offices that will also have glass on those so that they can benefit from the natural light coming in. And here's that large meeting room, and then the interview rooms to the right of that off that main corridor. Back of house functions. We have common shared meeting spaces, so none of the divisions actually own their conference rooms. That is shared within the building. So you don't have accounting, I'll say, hogging or keeping a conference room all to themselves. This is a section through the building to give you an idea of how the mass of the building lays out. So you can see here outlined in black in the middle, in the lower left, that's our meeting room, and then it steps up to the second floor, which then steps back to the third floor. So as it tiers back, it gives, it helps to reduce the height or the mass of a 3-story building. And then that becomes visible in some of these renderings we've provided. These are elevations of the building, so they're orthogonal projections, and then these are the 3-dimensional images. And so we've taken cues from across the street at the work that was done at the jail and the public safety building, and tried to create a language out of that that can be carried through the rest of the campus, something that is handsome and elegant without being overly complex and overly expensive, so that it is easily repeatable and durable for time. And I think that's my last one. Is it? No, it shouldn't be. I should have schedule and budget.
We don't want to hear about the budget.
I know.
I would be remiss if I didn't say, let's achieve handsome. Taxpayers don't want elegant.
Yeah. Yeah.
No granite windows here.
Yeah. Ted, you would like it in some of the third world countries I've been to, on the third floor, instead of building it out, they just poke the rebar up and leave it so they can add on to it later.
Whatever's most efficient.
You're not getting him,
That's exactly right. So in terms of schedule, we're currently on schedule.
Yeah, I think maybe the way it was scanned. Keep going.
Where's Susie?
If I was a better dancer, okay,
this.
thank you so much. All right. So.
It says we have it.
Yeah, we have it. Yep.
All right, I'll read it out. So for our project budget, what we had budgeted about a year ago now, were hard costs for site construction and building construction of around $78 million. Soft costs at $16.2 million. That includes things like furniture, testing, fees, and a very healthy contingency of $9.4 million for a total of $103,600,000. That was our overall project budget that we approved. We're trying to stay within that. We have not done any cost estimates to date or gauged the market interest because we're looking at how we're going to deliver the project. Once we make that decision, we can work through that. So, milestone dates, looking to approve with approval to proceed with design development. That's today, July 20th. We would anticipate having design development complete sometime around late September, early October, getting that approval to move forward with construction documents at the October 19th meeting at 6 p.m. right here. That brings us to, any questions on that so far? That brings us to our questions about the delivery method. So the slide that is in front of you shows design, bid, build, and construction manager at risk. This is the same slide that we showed back in May. We were looking at design, bid, build, maximizes pricing competition, lowest bidder wins. It's a sequential means of delivering a project, and it's a good choice for simple, low-risk projects. Construction manager at risk gives you greater control over cost and schedule through value engineering, early construction consultation and constructability reviews, and gives you options for fast tracking. Usually leads to fewer change orders and is a good choice for complex and collaborative projects. I will say that in May, we discussed what the preference is for Mr. Boykin, who is the county's representative, and Daniel Clifton, who's our project manager for the county. And the three of us have agreed that this is a simple, low-risk project, though large in scale, and would benefit from a pre-qualified, low-bid process. I know that there's a lot of factors, and as Mr. Boykin and I lamented earlier today, if we had a crystal ball, we'd be able to tell you what the exact right answer is, but the fact is we don't. There's a lot of factors at play in the market right now, including data center construction, wide flange beams and columns are now on a long lead time, and that certainly would play into any decision that you all make. So, based on that, we're here to do as the commissioners please. We can work through the process in any one of those means. I know talking to Jennifer, we've already worked out some advertisements for a CMAR should you all decide to go that way.
Any questions for Mr. Bennett?
Mr. Bennett, are you seeing, in your experience, volatility in the subcontract market right now, so labor and material?
I personally haven't heard rumblings of that. It's been material markets that have been our challenge.
But contractor availability is something you don't foresee being a challenge here in terms of competitive bids?
Not at this time, no, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? Yeah, the question before us today is to move forward with the detailed design phase and determine the construction delivery method that the board chooses to use, so.
Well, we've kicked enough cans down the road. I'm ready to move forward and you know, in talking to Mr. Borkin, I'm in favor of the bid design.
Mr. Chairman, my preference still see them at risk. As far as maximizing pricing competition, the only thing that is not bid under that method is the management contract with the general contractor, and usually there is a prohibition or a limit on how much they can self-perform, where they have to be certain condition precedents be met, such as a lack of availability of subcontractors to perform something before they would be authorized to self-perform. So essentially 95% of the job would be hard bid. But having that general contractor on board during the design phase, they've got their finger on the pulse of the market and volatile material prices. And we're seeing a situation right now based upon world events and national events that makes volatility almost a certainty, in my opinion.
And I won't repeat everything Mr. Stovall said, but I do agree with him, and I prefer the construction manager at risk. method also.
Okay. Anyone else?
I'm going to second that. I know we've been talking about trying to do more projects in this direction to make sure that we are managing the cost and the timeline. So I tend to agree with both of them on the construction manager at risk option, but I agree with Commissioner Godwin as well. I'm ready to vote to let's get going.
May I ask a question about staging here? The site work was not specifically discussed as part of the site development. There's quite a bit of site development in this first phase. Do you anticipate that would be part of the base bid package, or do you plan to contract it separately, or advance it on a separate, earlier schedule?
That was one of my questions.
Yeah, our recommendation on that, and what you're referring to, sir, is what we call our on-site, off-site, oh shoot, now I forgot what I was calling it. Essentially, we're doing a lot of utility work to bring utilities, turn lanes, grading, road development, that kind of work. I've talked to several contractors in the area about how that should be procured, how they would like to see that procured. They said, that's a specialty all its own. Bid it out, because you're going to get a great contractor. You can control the quality of that very easily because it's pipe, it's road, the standards are there. And so we would still recommend to break that out and bid it on its own. And that's how we've prepared our contracts and proposals with the county.
So would you have both of them working at the same time on the same site?
Potentially, yes. That is something that we're navigating as we figure out how these timelines start to work together. And I asked the same question.
Yeah, I was just going to say, my experience when I was in the grading business, it was not a pleasant experience to have a general contractor on site trying to build a building while you were trying to grade.
Well, we would. Yeah, well, that's fair.
That was before that.
That's fair. What we are looking to do is what our primary concern is getting the utilities to the site and then establishing a perimeter where that work stops and our work starts so that we can keep them out of each other's wheelhouse.
Would it be possible to hear Mr. Borkins weigh in on the method? If you don't mind me imposing, Jim.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, we looked at every aspect of both delivery methods. CMAR certainly has its place and its advantages. When buildings are complex, when we need the expertise of a general contractor who has a specialty in the design phase. We didn't come away with that feeling for this particular project. It's a massive project, but it is, as buildings go, very simple. I don't think we need that input for the design phase. Now, one thing you need to be aware of in the CMAR is that in that design phase, you will pay a pre-construction fee for that service. And in my opinion, it's a fee we already pay in the Mosley to do. So in my case, I think we might be doubling up a little bit on fees. Now, the other thing is we look back at the history of the two projects we completed recently, design bid build, both were successful. We got good competitive bids. I've discussed it among the marketplace, and I find that we have bidders that are willing to do it either way. A couple of them are here tonight. I think some of them have worked with us before, very comfortable with bidding with us again, so I think we will get competitive bids. Having said that, I can appreciate what Mr. Stovall said about the market volatility. But the truth is, what is volatile today, by the time we actually procure the materials, who knows what it will be. We won't procure these materials for 8 or 9 months. And when he said we wish we had a crystal ball, we don't. We don't know. It might be volatile today. We might not be able to get bar joists today. 9 months from now, it may be something else. So I don't know that that input will be really beneficial to us. But any questions, I'd be glad to entertain them.
Okay. Any questions from Mr. Bork?
You said the sheriff's, the public safety and the jail was built with the design bid build?
Yes. Yeah, both came in on time and under budget. But we did pre-qualify the bidders, and I would suggest that we do that again rather than opening up to everyone in the public.
I would concur with that.
Yeah. And because of that procedure that we take, quality will be the same either way we go, I think. We'll pick contractors that we have experience with and confidence in to deliver us a good quality project either way we go.
All right.
Okay.
Anything else from Mr. Morgan? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. What is the wishes of the board?
Well, you know, just show of hands, which way to go.
Do we need a formal
We need
motion?
a motion.
Yeah, let's get a
and
motion
second.
on the floor.
Okay, so, Mr. Chair, I move that we choose the construction manager at risk method for construction of DSS.
And move
building.
forward with
Can I
detailed
amend
design.
that motion?
Okay, wait a minute. And
And
we'll-
move forward with detailed design.
Yeah.
Okay, and move forward with detailed design.
Make it all
There you
one
go,
motion.
that was your
All right.
amendment, I accept it.
Now, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Now we can open it for discussion.
You know, I feel like we're behind an 8 ball now. The first one who makes the motion probably gets the best track.
That'd be quicker
I
than
want
the
to move
draw.
forward, but I'm not going to vote for this motion. Because I think Mr. Morgan's recommendation means a whole lot, and he's been through it a couple times. We've been through it a couple times, and I think that means a lot.
All right, any other discussion?
The timeline, I guess that was a pre-COVID build, the other building. So have things changed substantially now, or you don't think so? The times were a lot different pre-COVID than they are now. So I was wondering, do you think that has anything to do with?
One project was and one wasn't, really, and the result was the same.
All right, we have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, all in favor, please raise your hand. All right. Motion carries. All against, all opposed?
I'll say I told you so.
Okay. All right, so motion carries.
Watch out for the next motion.
Yeah, so the motion was to move forward with the project with the construction manager at risk.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Perfect. I have one last thing, if you'll indulge me. There
Okay.
was the discussion of parking. This is nothing we need to do tonight.
Okay.
I'm bringing it to your attention. On page 117 of your packet, you'll see the site plan as we have it. It represents about 740 parking spaces. I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of what 740 parking spaces looks like. It's a lot. It takes up the majority of the site. We have been back and forth with Smithfield and have landed on this number for the parking spaces for the project. We originally were not going to provide parking for the shell space. They've since changed that and wanted us to provide that parking. All that being said, the legislature also just passed a law now that it goes into effect January 1st that says they can no longer stipulate how many parking spaces we have to provide for any building. So theoretically, as of January 1, we could build this building with no parking. That's not the most beneficial thing to do. So we would be able to, at that time, I believe, argue that we could reduce the parking down to approximately 500 spaces for what we would need to be able to operate today, and the county could expand as it needed. However, if we revisit the parking deck discussion we had during our master planning process, if we were to build a deck today, it would be the cheapest we would be able to build it for several reasons. Number one, construction prices are not going to go down as we go further into the future. Number two, we can take credit for not building parking spaces today and roll that money up into a parking deck. And number three, the parking is subject to reimbursement from the state for the DSS funding. So I offer that because I think it bears further discussion. Again, we've made a lot of decisions tonight. I don't think we need to make that tonight, but we can move forward with the design of the parking lot as it is.
Okay. Any questions? Go ahead.
Quick question, in your experience, what tends to be more ADA compatible? I would assume parking deck, but deck over parking spaces or no?
Parking deck, yes.
Parking deck.
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be more secure. It's going to be more handicap accessible. It's going to reduce your stormwater load. It's going to make it easier for us to expand in the future. Yeah, so for those reasons.
I'm just thinking of the citizens that these buildings are going to serve and the needs that they may have. You know, spending the money today may save them a lot of effort and time in the future.
I do think it's something we need to at least consider. I'm not saying we should say yes or no, but, the security of not only the citizens, but the security of the employees and staff going in and out. I mean, it's 740 spaces that's a long walk out there to the end. And so, I'm not saying it can't be done, but we're using up a lot of the valuable space that we have for buildings on parking spaces.
I pulled a dimension on it, sir, and you're absolutely right. From your furthest parking space to the front door, it's pushing a quarter mile.
So what is the cost comparison from a parking deck to versus individual spaces?
I'm looking at Ted.
Mr. Godwin, you missed that one too. They're stealing your thunder.
We're working on the same page over here.
So a parking deck, parking space and a parking deck ranges anywhere from 30 to 35,000 per space, depending on who you ask. A parking space in a parking lot is anywhere between 5 and 10,000, depending on what all of your accoutrements run. I ran the numbers before I came tonight, and we've been looking at a 525 space parking deck. That would equate to approximately $17 million worth of construction, and then we would add a couple million to that for soft costs, and then we could actually take credit for about 350 parking spaces, which is anywhere between $1.5 and $2 million of credit for not building those spaces.
And then a reimbursement back.
And then we would have that reimbursement from the state, which would further erode that amount.
Okay.
Well, there's certain pros and cons either way. I have nothing against parking decks, but they do cost more. The other thing is, there's a lot of parking decks that absolutely hate it because they don't make them large enough to maneuver in. The spaces aren't big enough to keep your car from getting beat all up by the guy next to you.
That's those other architects.
I'm just making an impact clean out. Consider that if you design a deck for us.
And I see more security risk in the deck than the large parking lot. Can't hide in that large parking lot. You can hide in the deck.
I was gonna say, having an office in downtown Raleigh and one in downtown Cary, there's a difference in security between the two.
So which is better? The lot or the deck?
No, I have parking decks at both.
Okay.
And I was walking from the parking lot before,
Perhaps
and
we need
Cary was still safer either way.
a moat with alligators in it around the top.
So it's not the deck, it's where the deck is.
Yeah, where it is,
Understood.
yeah.
Right. Okay.
And I would just say this, as somebody who has to take their dad to the Durham VA, there's the new parking deck that they built a couple years ago. And so there's 4 or 5 levels of handicap spots that are right beside the elevator. Whereas if they was spread out, they would be much, much further away to get to the elevator to go down. And it shortens our walk a lot since we've had that deck.
Any other questions for Mr. Bennett? Oh, this is not a decision we have to make tonight. We'll have other opportunities to discuss it. I would take it under advisement and be thinking about that. The only thing I'll interject here is that we get one opportunity to get it right. And so this is our time.
I kind of go back to what Commissioner Rose mentioned. Can we leave rebar sticking out of the ground?
Yeah.
Go back. Or have that,
Just poke it at
the
the top.
shelter on the top.
Exactly.
It's like we do on the,
Never been any cheaper than it is today.
So I did want to just make sure, so I know we selected CMAR with the DSS building, but we're going to separately bid the on-site, off-site improvements. Is that what we opted to go with?
It sounded like it to me, but I may be wrong.
Yeah, 'cause we did not discuss the on-site, off-site improvements tonight for authorization to change that at all. Do we want to?
I don't know. I was just clarifying what we did. I didn't hear us mention the on-site, off-site improvement yet.
We just did building and the method.
I'll come back next month.
Talk about site.
We'll talk about site.
Okay.
Okay, that sounds good. That's excellent.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
All right. Item number 8 is the Johnston County Facilities Condition Assessment Update, and our very own Facilities Director, Daniel Clifton, is here to present. Mr. Clifton, how are you, sir?
How are y'all?
Good.
I'm gonna try to make this as brief as quick.
Thank you.
All right. Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. I'm here tonight to give you a brief overview of the facility condition assessment we just completed and how we're using that data to move from a reactive maintenance to a proactive maintenance model. In late 2025, we entered into a contract with Brightly, who partnered with Alpha Facility Solutions LLC to provide facility condition assessment and asset inventory for Asset Essentials. Brightly, the project was completed by a team consisting of engineers, architects, construction professionals. This predictive approach to asset management is known as capital planning and is used to anticipate funding and maintenance needs many years into the future. Like I said, I'm going to try to hit this pretty quick. Scope of the work included and identified and document current and forecasting conditions of approximately 680,000 square feet of facilities, identified and documented the current site needs, identified and documented the remaining service life to those buildings such as DSS and so forth, included the building envelope, the finishes, roofs, electrical, plumbing, heating and air, and the trades. Forecast facility renewal requirements based on life cycle analysis of existing systems and spans for the next 20 years. And then provide rough order of magnitude or ROM cost estimates for building system renewal and site repairs for future projections. And then also provided a facility condition index, or FCI, which is a measurement to illustrate the relative condition of those facilities. At that time that the assessment was done, there was 29 permanent buildings that was owned and operated by Johnston County. No leased areas were done. They entered all areas of the building that were accessible, roofs, basements, and so forth, conducted. And then Alpha, the company that did it, of course, followed BOMA, Building Owners and Managers Association, their life cycles that they recommend. Their projections are very aggressive. I will warn you on that. It's important to note that no recognized standard exists for FCIs. So they use this grade, which is from the IFMA, International Facility Management Association. Good is considered 0 to 5%, fair 5 to 10, poor 10 to 30, and critical is greater than 30. The full document of the study was 260 pages. I have that for your reading if you'd like. I will have to say it is fairly in-depth and it is just as good as any sleeping pill I have.
Excuse me, Danny, let me ask you, clarify.
Okay.
The good, fair, poor, and critical, when you say greater than 30%, what does that mean?
Basically what they do is they go through there and grade, and they give each building a grade. And we'll fix it to get into that, and it shows it, and that's on how that building rates. 0 to 5 is good. Basically, it's a 50% scale is the way I look at it. And it's a point scale. Basically, you get points for, or you don't get points. If you have a new roof, you don't accrue any points. And the more those points add up.
In other words, those are need points.
Correct.
Okay, that's fine, I understand.
Here is a list of the buildings that we did. And once again, it's a very aggressive schedule. It also shows the total needs of the recommendations for 2025 because this was completed and given to us in late 2025. And then the current was assessment values. All of these here, I'm just going to go through fairly quick. The worst condition boards we actually have was for the livestock arena. I think most of us know that. That slide is not on here. Did I do that? Sorry. The livestock arena was with 2025 was with an FCI score of 23. We all know the condition of it. A lot of that is due to the ongoing study that you've got of what we need to do with the livestock arena future and what future it holds. The second one is going to be mental health with a 19, and that is because of the age of the building and the connection with, really the hospital. A lot of the mechanical systems operate off of the boilers and chillers and they all from the actual hospital. Those systems do. Quickly, I'm going to go through the ag center here. We had a FCI 0 this year. And it's going to have they project by 2030, it will have a 2. This is just basically how they graded it. I'm not going to go into individual ones. They said it needed $16,000 worth of electrical for the ag center, and that was for exit signs and emergency lights. But I currently do not recommend that. They all have been converted to LED, and if it's working, there's no use to replace it, just to say you replace it.
Daniel, can I ask for a point of clarification on that 0 to 2?
Yes, sir.
As I understand it, 0 is about as good as you can get.
Yes, sir.
And by 2030, it'd have a score of 2%, which still keeps it in the good range.
And very good, yes, sir.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay. Animal control, this year is at a 0, and they're projecting a 8 in 2030. A lot of that is due to age of HVAC units and so forth. And that it can be found on the next page for HVAC and plumbing. They recommend that all branch circuiting, sanitary waste, domestic water distribution, and all ductwork be replaced, have a serviceable life of 20 years. So basically, every building we have that's over 20 years old, they're recommending we replace all the sanitary lines, distribution lines, and as well as the ductwork and branch wire. So that is where a lot of this money is coming in on these buildings that are in the 20 to 40 range.
Physical deterioration would, of course, amount to certain scores. What about state-of-the-art in terms of efficiency? As those things evolve, could that figure into this scoring system going forward?
It will.
In other words, something's working fine, but this new technology says we can save X dollars and ways to do it.
LED lighting in lieu of incandescent.
Correct. All of our buildings have been already switched to LED. The way I like to say it is we have gotten all of our low-hanging fruit. That's the inexpensive stuff. Now we're getting to the control systems, the fire alarm systems and all that are coming of age and we're having to replace. We have part of this program, we are in the process of starting an energy management software that brings all of our bills into one location, that one person goes over every month to make sure that we don't have.
It'll have a trending feature in it, and it can show you when there's an aberration in the history.
One thing with that with the detention center, when we moved in, we got the bill, and it just seemed really, out of this world. Went back, we were being charged, and I caught it, and we got lucky. I didn't usually see the bills, but I saw that one because it was sent to me by accident in our office. But that bill was, we were being charged out-of-town service for sewer and water instead of in-town rates. And it cut it. We ended up, had already paid 3 months, so they credited it. But that is part of that, the energy management part. Benson EMS is another one that we're at a 12 now. They're recommending we're at 2030, they're predicting a 13. A lot of that is the age of the building as well. Like, it was built in 1975. A lot of people don't know, Bentonville Community Building is part of the county building. FCI of 10 to this year, and then projecting 12 in 2030. And that is also, a lot of that is the age of the building and the systems therefore.
Is that an actively used building right now?
Yes, sir. It's used for local, it's run by a board.
Yes, there are 2 community buildings that were built probably in the 50s, one at McGee's Crossroads and one at Bentonville. And they have their own local board that kind of manages it.
Okay, I noticed that the windows are basically plywood that's been painted over. Well, that's what it looks like anyway. That's why I was asking.
That's actually a storage room with a door. If I'm,
The black ones or the white?
the white one.
What about the black ones?
I think that is just the way, that's open windows. I think it's just the way the picture is taken, I believe.
I rode by there one time, I said, wow, boarded up.
No, I went back there this week and it was in good shape. So
Okay.
But they're correct, they do call for shingles and it is one of these shingles pretty quick. Next building will be Board of Elections, currently a 13 with a projection of a 15. There, the electrical system is bad and the roof is scheduled for replacement this year. Clayton EMS, FCI current 2, projected at 2 in 2030. And then our big boy at the current moment, the courthouse annex. We have FCI 9, projecting FCI 15. And a lot of those.
Chairman, can I make a suggestion? Rather than you read,
Okay.
could you like pick some extremes on one end or the other?
Okay.
We still have a lot to go.
I understand.
I don't want to go through.
Okay,
And
well,
make
we've already
more
done that
your
pretty
mall.
much with the livestock arena and
Okay.
all that. I can go over any questions and it's fairly long, but the main ones was the livestock arena, the Heritage Center, and mental health. Mental health, like I said before, some of that is out of our control because of the hospital having those mechanical units and so forth. As far as R22 units, that was brung up in this. Currently, we have 26 total R22 units. HVAC units, they are 3-ton and smaller. I think there may be one 5-ton at DSS3 that we currently utilize. We have 2 R22 chillers running right now, but they have already been purchased and are being replaced at the moment. Waiting on those to get coming. I know that's quick.
Yeah, but so in the report though, does he have all 29 from 1 to 29 in there?
Yes,
And
it did. And I can share the full report. If y'all would like me to, I can send it to you, or I can come back at a later night and cover everything.
Yeah, I would just think you've got, all the information I think that we've been looking for quite some time. And I know, I didn't see in, at least while we had this presentation, a representation of that life cycle model where we can see
Yeah.
investment of X yields a facility index of, condition index of Y, and we can see where we want to
Okay.
be on that to get those. But is that part of, I know you had software at the end.
Yeah, the software is actually, we brung this part into a CMMS software, maintenance software, to help us move from that reactive to the pre-active maintenance part. Everything that they went through, every one of the buildings, all the air handlers, any equipment that it has to be serviced or anything had an asset sticker applied to it, barcode, so we could utilize that to get the information, mobile, and that was implemented into that software. So we are currently using the software through our HVAC department, and they're using that for preventive maintenance, getting daily reports on what is due, and that has helped us a great deal.
So we're already using.
We're already utilizing that, part of that software. As far as the prediction for the capital assets and all that, I have not currently got into that part. Trying to do it a little bit at a time, so I don't overwhelm my guys.
The elephant is big, so.
Yes, and our HVAC department, they have more of the equipment than anybody, so we're letting them utilize it. But in the next 30 to 60 days, the entire department will be moving over to that system, that CMMS system.
We got it. I was just gonna say from, I guess from where we started 2 or 3 years ago, when we started even as a board talking about it and you working on it, is where we are today better
Yes.
than you thought it was gonna be, or, yeah?
Yes,
Yeah.
it scared me, but a lot of it is just information to back up what my feelings were and help support that information.
All right, just to clarify, you already got a CMMS system and it's populated with assets.
Yes, sir. When they did this, they automatically populated it. with
You're already light years ahead of a lot of government agencies.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of the things that I'm learning now is stuff we just have replaced at the end of this budget year, putting that, taking the old one out and putting the new one in.
Yeah, and I think Bradley's software, that we ought to be able to develop some actual curves of our own. We have some, I'm sure they've got some curves we're using, but we can.
Yeah, we're just we're sticking our toes in the software. It does so much more than
One big advantage of it, it prompted, these systems typically prompt you on what PM measures, preventive maintenance measures are needed and when. So you got a building go in there and it prompts people to go ahead and schedule that and get it done.
And there's stuff that you're gonna miss unless you have it in the software.
This total needs for 2025, $10.3 million. Is that what you need today to address
No, sir.
building efficiencies?
No, sir. I don't feel like, I do not personally feel that way. Like I said, a lot of their stuff is, if that building is 20 to 30 years old, they want all the piping and all replaced. Yes, we do have some problems with
Oh,
piping.
yeah, you gotta use a certain amount of judgment.
Exactly. You know, we're not in it to do this. We're in it to provide the best product we can at least amount of money.
Let me ask you a little more, well, not how to characterize this question, but in terms of what you would typically do in a year's time, how much recurring funds do you need to put toward these repairs, restorations, renovations on an annualized basis, and how does that dollar amount compare to what you're getting now?
I'll be honest with you, we have a lot of times in our budget, I budget that. For the last 20 years, we budgeted in our actual budget of what needs to be replaced. And, we get most of the time, what we get and what we need to do that as needed. We've not worked off of a capital improvement plan or anything else. But I see in the future, you know, it's moving that way, and that, for instance, this building, to 1988, 89, is getting to the point, we still have a pneumatic control system. That's our number one priority.
You find anybody old enough, that's young enough to work on it?
Yes, sir, I got one, and that's what scares me. Because I have a guy on staff that works with it and knows it well, but if we were to have a major problem getting somebody from the outside to come in. That is currently being engineered at this moment for a new control system. And that would be brung into next year's budget.
Okay, I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
No, I understand.
I was looking more like an average about how much work you think that you're putting in to your budget each year to go toward these issues that are addressed in this report.
That's hard to say, I'll be honest with you. I'd like to get back here on that one.
I was gonna say, it would seem hard, something we've never been able to measure, now we're able to measure.
Correct.
And so, I mean, I expect it's gonna be, better is a word we've used, I mean, it's gonna be
It'll be easier on me, especially for budgeting, when we're getting, preparing the budget for next year and the next 5 years.
Yeah.
I think it's easier for us too, goal setting and things, you know, I immediately look at this and I'm like, well, good news, we're gonna replace that building in the next 5 or 10, you know what I mean? It kind of makes me, I hate to say it, more motivated to get some of our newer facilities done when you really see these actual numbers of what it's costing us, and some days feels like we're throwing good money after bad when we have to make quick decisions on where we're gonna put staff and things like that. It's so helpful to have this information to know, like, okay, this is why it makes sense, even though it's a large number, this is why it makes sense to spend money on new facilities.
I personally think he went to the wrong building when he went to DSS one.
I mean, I think, and makes it a little bit easier for this board. We can say, if we want to operate in the fair range, here's what we get, and we say, hey, we want it all to be in the good, maybe the lower,
And everybody
the
wants it
lower
to
end
be-
of the good range, but
Yes.
here's what that's going to cost.
Acceptable.
If you want, that is what you want, but here's what that's going to cost. I think that's going to help us.
And, you know, and some of this are, I don't want to spend money on these buildings because I don't know what we're going to be doing with them.
Right.
DSS buildings, the livestock would be, for instance, with that study coming. I don't want to go there, that livestock arena has 3 units that are R22. Do I go spend $80,000 to $100,000 on that building to replace those units? And then we turn around and, and then in 2 years, we demolish the building.
So you open the doors and use it to fall.
I do think that's an important note, though, to when we talk about replacing buildings. You know, first thing that came to my mind when you said the roof on the Board of Elections building. Well, I mean, how many years we're going to keep that building? And is it worth putting a roof on? But that amount of money can be applied toward a new facility, and it gives us a way to gauge that more so.
Luckily, that's a small building and that roof is.
I can tell you from my experience, how we prioritize our work, and I had hundreds of $1 millions of deferred maintenance. And physical plant I was dealing with public safety and corrections. We look at, you've got to preserve your building envelope first. If you've got a leaking roof, you need to fix the leak or replace the roof if you're gonna keep that, if you're gonna keep the building. If you're not gonna keep it, you need to at least prepare it standpoint that it doesn't further deteriorate while you're using it until you can get out of it. Then you look at life safety systems next, fire alarms in general. But I had a lot of people that, who were under supervised occupancy. So fire alarms became much more critical, much like they are in schools. And then you look at your basic building systems, that HVAC. Is it doing what it needs to do? Is it on/legs, et cetera?
Any other questions for Mr. Clifton? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Great job.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
very
Very
good.
good, very good. All right, item number 9 is emergency services, or general services funding for fire departments. We have our Fire Marshal Travis Johnston speeding in the back door back there. Welcome, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are y'all tonight?
Good, good.
Got a few people coming in with me there. Let me get in.
Proud with you there. Yes, sir. Y'all come on in.
Looks like his muscle.
Yeah.
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 Got a
You can jump to the motion quick on this one, Ted.
There you
Yeah.
Got emergency services staff, Director Parker and Deputy Director Holloman with us, and also commission members Kendall Hocutt and Jeremy Daughtry. We respectfully request the consideration of the Board of Commissioners to allocate $152,054 from the Fire Protection Service District to cover the additional governmental services that were not captured in the initial budget proposal by the Fire Commission, fire departments. And we can answer any questions you have about those services.
So essentially what happened is some of the fire departments that are directly connected to municipalities, it's an arguable point that a portion of their human resources department or their planning department and so forth is attributed to the usage of the fire department. And so in order to do a cost share with that, or to fund that portion of it, we went back and looked at, we met with Clayton and some of the different others, and looked at what their actual costs were. And so this is coming it came to the Fire Commission to be put together as a recommendation back to this board. And that's what it came, and this is sort of a compromise, and.
It is. We're working on
go into
a formula for the future to better capture these items.
And the reason this is coming in a form of amendment is because this happened at sort of the 11th hour when we were working on the final steps to our budget. And so they were just not able to pull it all together in time to include it into the manager's budget. So now it's coming back in the form of a budget amendment. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
This will not affect the current rate as well.
Okay.
These
Yes,
changes will not
correct.
affect the rate.
Yeah, this will be covered by the funds that are in the Fire Protection Service District Fund. Yes, okay. Any questions for the fire marshal or the folks here? All right, then we'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to allocate $152,054 from the Fire Protection Service District fund balance to the various fire departments, and I make that in the form of a motion.
Okay, got a motion. A second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Appreciate it
Thank y'all
very
very
much.
much.
Thank y'all for what you do. All right, item number 10 is Emergency Services, Wilson's Mills Fire Department Capital Funding Strategy. We have Chief Jason Moore here to present. I think he's got some of his folks with him. And Ryan Parker, our Emergency Services Director, is here also. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for having us tonight. As you well know, this is the first round of the fire department budgets under the new funding platform. And we had a lot of good conversations, learned a lot of things this first go around. And one of the things that we wanted to bring before you tonight, in the policy that you approved back in October 2025, when talking about the fire department's fund balance, some of these fire departments that had been funded historically by their own service districts, they had created capital improvement plans, and they had money set aside within their own fund balance in their own coffers. And one of the items in the policy states that if there was a fund balance in excess of the operating budget, that the operating budget would be reduced for the fire departments. With this first round, this first year, we had a couple fire departments that had some fund balances, and they come to the budget committee and shared that they had some projects that they were wanting to do. And so some of these fire departments were allowed to hold some of that money to complete those last legs of those projects. Wilson Mills was one of those, and there was a recommendation brought to them stating, could they pay off Fire Station 3 with the rest of that money, pay down the note on that building. That was communicated to Wilson Mills Fire Chief Jason Moore, and we have Jason Moore with us tonight. Jason Moore has been the chief with Wilson Mills since December of 2025, and he has been a great partner to emergency services since then. We have a close working relationship with him. We actually have two of our EMS units housed within their stations, stations 2 and Station 3 now. So he has been a good partner with us, but he is requesting to present to you tonight an alternate spending plan for that fund balance. He has a presentation for you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that may arise that may not be related to Chief Moore's presentation.
All right, thank you. Good introduction. Thank you. Hey, Chief, welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I just have a few things to go through. I'm going to try and keep it short. It's getting late in the evening. Got a small presentation real quick. Basically, Wilson Mills, right? We're a non-municipal fire department, 501(c)(3), and just like most volunteer stations in America, through the 80s and 90s, you weren't allowed to even buy a piece of candy for your firemen. They kept every single dollar they could for rainy days. Well, in this case of apparatus growing Johnston County, that rainy day's here. When I first came in as the fire chief, I did a full assessment of the apparatus, the buildings, the personnel. We're severely understaffed, and I'm proud to say since February 1st, we've been 100% staffed at all 3 stations. Apparatus, we've sold some that we weren't using to allocate the current plan that was already in motion prior to my arrival, and my objective was to keep it on task. We had about a little over $1.1 million that was in an unrestricted fund balance, meaning that was left over after our 15%. We had a significant amount that we were keeping in our savings for many items of the board's decisions prior to my arrival. One of them was that we needed some updates to the buildings. We built brand new Station 3, but we still had about $750,000 to put into it, even after we moved in. Station 1 and Station 2 had some improvements that were made, and we still ended up putting over $500,000 in each of those stations. If you go by there today, they are fully staffed. They're probably drilling most of the day, and if you look at the stations, they look really nice. Parking lots are done. Station 3 is improving all the way around. What we plan to do is we didn't want the money to come out of our budget, money being the 1.1 that we had remaining down. We figured what would be fair for taxpayers was to take some of that money and put into the improvements of the buildings so they wouldn't have to share it across the county as a one county tax. Meaning that next year, the year after, Wilson Mills wouldn't be coming to you saying, hey, my firehouse is falling apart. We wanted to keep 1.1. We figured we'd spend 1.4 and do that as good faith. So we chose to do that. We also spent $50,000 every month to knock down our building note by 1.7 years to save interest in the long run. It's about taxpayers' money. Our current ladder truck, 2004 Pierce Ariel. It is the oldest ladder truck in the county, and currently this year has cost me over $126,000 to keep it on the road. The truck was purchased from 2021 from Cary for $150,000, so we're approaching almost exactly what we paid for it just to keep it on the road. The mileage was about 88,000 then, and now that we're fully staffed, the truck is running. It's running the mutual aid calls that we're looking for. A lot of calls were cut down from Wilson's Mills being inadequately staffed. Now we're changing those back up. We're looking to pick up our runs from about 1,600 to probably over 3,000. The ladder truck is a vital operation. It keeps us in the safe zone, as we call it, for our fire department operations. and I'll just give you a little bit of components real quick. The repair costs this year alone, as I said, was over $126,000, nearly $130,000. I haven't even got the final bill where it was just tested the other day. With that, the truck's 65% of the cost has been spent in 7 months that I've been at Wilson's Mills. Before my arrival, the board of directors had already allocated to replace that ladder truck in the next 2 to 3 years. Well, it takes 3, almost 4 years. As of today, 42 months to build a ladder truck. If I continue the same math, it would really not be feasible to keep running the ladder. However, we are the only ladder, besides Clayton, that's staffed with 4 personnel in the county. A lot of other departments have ladders. They cross-staff, whatever the case may be. We ensure that when that ladder truck is needed, all 4 personnel are on that ladder 24/7. Oops. There it is. Ladder trucks are needed for Wilson's Mills. This is my first week there. That's a photograph of a fire we had in our first due area off of Plowden Drive. Again, there's 4 available ladders, but currently our assignment never called for any ladders to come to Wilson's Mills. They hadn't been updated in many years. They were only bringing us engine companies. Ladders are important. They're not just for large buildings. They're for ventilation. They're for the teams to be able to search according to OSHA regulations. 2 people inside, 2 people outside. Seconds count when we're rescuing civilians and even when we're rescuing our own. Flashover potentials are decreased when we open up the roof. That's another thing because ladders come on ladder trucks. Firefighter egress, able to vent, enter, and search, which is when we come from a ladder through a window and able to search a room for a child or somebody else who's hiding under the bed. Additionally, when I did my assessment, I know that I need 18 people on a fire ground. I don't have any other current chiefs. It's just myself, a couple of captains, and a few lieutenants that run everything every day. With that, I've asked for the continued 4 engines, 1 truck, and an additional chief to come help support for fires. That gives me my emergency response framework of 18 people. In preparation for this ladder truck replacement, we sold the rescue squad. That saved us, just last year's numbers, $12,394. We sold engine 5. That's saving us $22,000 we spent last year. We sold engine 3. That saved $7,100. And we're trying to sell the tanker for about, but it's out of service, so it's saving us $4,000 a year. That's $45,000 a year we're saving. With the new ladder truck, the compartmentation is a little bit different. The truck is a lot bigger than the 2004 model that we had. It offers about 600 more square feet of compartmentation. So the rescue that we sold was one of the heavy rescue squads. It kind of had a command center inside of it and everything. It was perfect for its time, but it was 2001. This ladder truck can do a dual feature. That's what we're looking to do with technical rescues, our future. I build things for the next 20 to 30 years. That's what we're going for. Will it last that long? Probably a good 20 is a hard say, especially how far the Johnston County is growing each day. 2 ways to look at what's the best decision, right? We were proposed to pay off our building. Our building's a 5.04% interest rate. That would be a savings of $423,000 to taxpayers in debt service. When I come in with option B, I went to First Citizens Bank. Kevin over there, he gave us the option. He said, well, you can look at it this way. You could take your $1.2 almost $1 million and invest it. Even on the small marks of the next 3 to 4 years, you can get about 7%. We don't know what the interest rates are going to do. So we looked at it at a 2.5% increase and then a 3% increase. And I even looked today and I found many other loan companies that are out there and talked to Ezekiel from First Citizens. And he said that I can get a 5.4% interest rate on a 12-month note if I take the money and invest it every year. If we go with option B, we're able to put down about $1.5, $1.6 million on a $2.2 million ladder truck. I would much rather finance a little over 1/3 of the ladder truck price than finance the whole thing with only having $423,000 put down. Sure, it'd be nice to pay off the building, but it's the only thing that we have a loan out there on. Everything else we have is paid. to take the ladder truck interest rate, sometimes they climb 8, 9, 10, 11%. So the more money you borrow, it's time that percentage rate. However, Kevin has, with our agreements and how much we've worked with him before, he's offered us a 5.3 interest rate for that ladder truck. I'm sure he wants the business. We wanted to keep it in town, and we're looking to only have to finance potentially about $600,000 to $800,000. When we look at this across the board, we have a fiduciary responsibility to give the taxpayers the best bang for the buck. Saving $423,000 would also mean that when we finance that ladder truck, we would cost taxpayers an additional $276,000 of interest on the back end of that ladder truck fund by financing over 65% of it, if we just paid our building off. If we go the option B way, we save a lot more than that. The other problem is, we're on a time crunch. There's another department that's not far away from us that's in the process of ordering a ladder. A lot of times when you jump on their specs, jump on their bids, it saved us 10 months of engineering time and engineering costs that they absorbed. We looked at the ladder, it does fit our needs. We both gonna run back and forth with one another, providing the same mutual aid service. And we can potentially save at the same time, probably about $40,000 saving just right now. If we don't get in by October 1st, then it's an increase of another $176,000 for next year's model. So that's the time crunch I'm in. I wanted to make sure that you guys knew that before we paid off our building and cost taxpayers almost $500,000 more in the long run in interest, that I wanted to let you know that I found a different way to do this, and that's what I'm asking for. Doing the right thing for Wilson's Mills, the right thing for Johnston County, and the right thing for our taxpayers that we support. That's it. The breakdown for you right there, $271,000 in additional interest costs, 1.6 to put down, we're having 423 to put down. We tried to do the best we can by taking our fund balance that we did have and the savings and do what they wouldn't have to do for Wilson's Mills, to share that cost so they can use the one county tax to support departments that are struggling. They won't have to support Wilson Mills. 36 to 42 months build time. And there it is at the bottom. If after October, then the cost increase goes up $176,000 for a 2027 model. The Fire Commission has recommended I pay the building off and stick to the budget policy. The budget policy offers the ability to use your restricted fund balance for capital expenditures. A ladder truck of this cost is a capital expenditure. And we've also allowed for other departments to retain their fund balance to use for capital expenditures. So I'd like to have the same thing.
Chief, what's your balance on your mortgage?
My mortgage is right around 1.1.
And what type of ladder truck is it?
It's, we're looking at the tractor drawing, which is it's a much longer ladder truck, but it can actually turn in places. As we know that the streets and neighborhoods are getting much smaller, people are getting more parking on the streets. It's harder for us to get the bigger trucks down there. And then when we do get them down there, we're kind of in a single line approach. This truck has ladders on the outside and in the back. So if somebody pulls up, comes up to our rear, in the current truck, we can't even use any ladders. This truck carries them on the side and inside. Not to mention, we can run dual role responsibilities. We can run a squad, have 10 compartments on each side. Currently, we have 4 and 5.
And would that fit in where the current ladder truck is stationed, or would it have to go to a different station?
No, they currently fit right in there. And the other thing, good thing is our brand new engine that we just got last year turns in 28 feet. This ladder truck turns around in 26 feet, but it's almost twice as long.
Chief, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I was looking at your numbers quite a bit yesterday, and your loan balance was represented as of $1,124,000, and your fund balance $1,069,000. So if you were to use that money to pay off the loan, you'd have about a little over $45,000 left. How do you get from $45,000 to having $423,000 put on that?
It was explained to me from the fire commission that that would be the debt services of me continuing the loan or paying it off. That's basically how much I would save from having the debts every year of that. So if I paid the building off, instead of having $46,000 or $60,000 a year in debt service, I would no longer have it. So they were adding it up over 4 years, you would accumulate about $423,000 with the money that I have left over plus that.
Looking at the difference in interest rates, it's only less a 0.25% difference between what you said the building loan is now and what the expected apparatus loan would be.
Which is quite remarkable because they are about 8 to 9%, and they extended this out to us, and I thought that was.
Well, I was kind of shocked when I saw the first presentation said that somebody offered you 7% return on your money on an annualized basis, and I said, I'd like to know who that is.
They sold you a bill of goods.
Ezekiel, I know, but that is on a 12-month high interest. You know, that's playing the market.
Yeah, saying
And,
5%.
you know, when we talk about,
those.
right, and when we talk about the market, we don't know what it's going to be. I mean, if they open this straight right now, things are going to look good. If they keep it down, things are going to stay down 2.5%, 3%. So even if we only put down 1.2, that's a lot better than putting down 400.
Well, I also understand that a good business practice is you resolve your debts first before you move forward with other capital expenditures you have to finance. And that's what the fire policy, I think, was recognizing too. So why do you think we should deviate from the policy in this particular case?
Taxpayer interest down the road. I don't want to cost them $276,000 in interest cost when I could save that right now. I mean, as we look at it, everybody, we're going to a new one tax, one county fee. We spent savings to offset the deal to figure that we were doing a 50-50 shot. And we were trying to do the right thing.
I still can't get the numbers to work.
I can send you Kevin and Ezekiel's number if you like, because he re-explained it again today.
That's not an insured deposit.
I'm sorry?
It's not an insured deposit, is it?
No, sir.
So it's speculative with the market.
It is speculated for the market, exactly. Yep. So the numbers could be inflated, right? Because we don't know what the market's going to do from one day to the next. But if you still look at the end result, putting down 1.2 versus 400,000 maybe, it's a lot difference.
Your
Especially when we.
$130,000 repair cost for 25, that was for the 25 year?
No, sir. That's been since December 2nd.
All right. Are these repairs that you would expect to fail in near term? They had to be major system repairs.
Well, a lot of them are major, but when you get to air leaks on a truck that's, 22 years old, air leaks are hard, right? And then you talk about Kuzma pumps, then you talk about brake systems. The biggest thing that we have now is we're chasing hydraulic lines that are in the middle of a frame. When you talk about a platform truck like we have, and like many have, that is one of the most mechanically detailed trucks that you could have out there. One of the most expensive to maintain. They have a hydraulic system that goes from the middle all the way to the tip to control the bucket, leveling, and everything else coming down. The straight truck I'm trying to get is one of the cheapest. The annual maintenance on that is about $12,000 to $16,000. Annual maintenance on a tower truck is about $30,000 to $34,000.
Does your analysis forecast that you expect to put approximately $130,000 in it annually going forward if you kept it?
God, I hope not. To be honest with you, I know I have to keep it for 3 years, right? And we are doing everything we can to treat it right. And, we're gonna have to put tires on it. Just to put tires on the rear was $8,000. That's a maintenance thing. That's not repairs, right? But then when you talk about a brake caliper, that's a repair. And those are going left and right. I drove it back from the repair shop, and the brake caliper went on the way home. So it's just one thing after another. You talk about 22 years of a diesel engine that's running calls straight, as hard as it can go right out the door from being a cold. And, when we looked at it, how Northside was giving the okay to hold their money, I said, hey, maybe there's a better option for our taxpayers.
Well, they had a whole different set of circumstances there. That was a future site, land banking.
It's still a capital expenditure, right?
It's a capital expenditure, but it was far more justified, at least in my mind,
right,
than what I was seeing here, because I still can't get the numbers to work out.
How do you achieve full staffing? Chief, was it volunteers or paid staff?
I missed the question.
Achieve the fully staffed.
We hired. We're still using the volunteers as part-time employees. We don't do stipends any longer. And we've hired 19 in one shot, hired about 6 more. I think our current staffing's about 36. We just went through a battalion chief process Friday, and we're looking to finally get some supervisory help for it. We've looked at everything we can that's going to cost us money in the next 5 years, and this is the one that we need to start replacing now. If we wait 3 years, that's 6 years of paying for this truck. If we wait a year, wait for the apparatus committee to meet, and then talk about engines, and then get into ladder trucks, because I understand that that's not on their plate right now. But you're talking about 8 years down the road. Somebody's going to need that ladder truck. And maybe my own person.
Any other questions for Chief Moore?
From the fire commission standpoint, is this the, placing this truck the highest priority they have right now?
We're supposed to be the first truck to be replaced. We're the oldest. 2004 for us.
But you expect, I saw in here, you expect that if you put your money toward a truck, you expect the fire commission to pay off your building balance over time, is that correct?
We would just keep continuing to pay our building as we've been doing through our budget, yeah. Just like we would be.
But that money would come out of the fire tax?
Yes. Yeah, we don't have any non-tax money coming in. It's $11,138 a month mortgage. So that's why we took it on there, knocked down a year and 7 months, paying $50,000 a month until we get this process approved.
Do you have access to other trucks that are in service should the need arise? Ladder
No,
trucks?
not that are staffed.
But you can staff yours,
Yeah.
but if the truck shows up, could they staff it and use it?
How would they get there? You can't hitchhike. You got to
Well,
come with them,
if
right?
you got a mutual aid agreement, they're gonna respond to the site.
With them. But how do I get my personnel there? We don't have volunteers like that. We just have career personnel now. So they ride staffing of 3 personnel on the engines and 4 on the ladder truck. That's what our mutual aid agreement currently says. You're supposed to have 3 with 1,000 gallons of water for an engine and an EMT. All of our personnel, maybe 2 employees are EMTs now. So they definitely, we meet the EMT, mutual aid agreement for engines, but there really isn't one that's written for trucks. I mean, 2 of the trucks that came to me so far on fires, one was driver only, and the other one had 2 people on it. They cannot form a function for search and rescue with only 1 or 2 people.
So who are your neighboring
Clayton is the one
departments
that's
that have ladder
staffed,
truck?
and now Northside, I believe, is working on staffing theirs.
So you said Clayton is staffed, or?
Clayton is staffed.
Okay, I thought you said, okay, so Clayton is staffed.
Yeah, and that's who we
Northside
run
is
mutual
not.
aid with. He needs my truck to meet his ERF, and I need his truck to meet mine.
I thought you said the available trucks were not fully staffed.
I thought that's what he said too.
No, I mean, there's only one others. The mutual aid is Clayton. That's it.
So Smithfield is not a mutual aid and doesn't have a fully?
They are, but they don't have 4 people on the truck. No, sir.
And I don't know what does Selma have?
They don't have 4 people on the truck. A lot of them's cross-staff. Sometimes they can get part-timers, but it's not a consistent.
But how do they use the truck if they're not staffed for it?
I would love to know that answer.
Do they leave it at the fire?
They get it there. Some people believe if you get it there, it does the job, but some people try the hardest, I mean, for years, the volunteer system, this is nothing new to it.
Well, that's why I asked the question. If you got the staff, but you don't have the truck, and they got the truck, and only part of the staff, and you're both going to the same fire, why can't they work together to operate the equipment?
I just don't have accountability like that. I mean, it's just not feasible. A truck comes staffed like mutual aid agreements. That's what they want, that's what I will provide, and that's what I have provided. I mean, last year, we were 271 days unstaffed. I come in the door 2.5 months, fully staffed. We're 85% December, 96% in January, 100% since February. Even if I gotta work 24 hours, I do it.
All right, any other questions or comments?
I did have.
Go ahead.
One question and maybe one for Ryan, but you said you were going to go from 1,600 calls. Is that just for the ladder truck, or is that?
No, that's for the department.
So what's the almost doubling of that. What's that? You see that?
Well, when we open up the responses, many departments or mutual aids have taken Wilson Mills off the run cards. A lot of the run cards hadn't been adjusted from 3-station dispatching, and they're working on doing that right now. As a matter of fact, I sent all the chiefs about 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago now, an email letting them know, hey, we are 100% staffed. We just had a house fire that we could have been second arriving to, and we didn't go. And it was because of the past practice of Wilson Mills. They weren't reliable, and I would have probably done the same thing. So I don't blame any of the departments around us, but I'm standing behind my word now that we are staffed, and they could utilize us. With that increase of mutual aid calls from 60 square miles of fire protection district to our outside neighbors, we're going to pick up a lot more runs.
And I guess my other questions may be for Mr. Parker. So there you go. So what is the status? Well, a couple of things. The apparatus committee and what's on their schedule. I know Chief Moore had mentioned the ladder truck being number one on the priority list. And I'm assuming that's for ladder trucks, but we've heard about engines too. So does the apparatus committee have a pecking order yet that there's engines who need to come before a ladder truck, or where is the committee on that?
Oh, so the apparatus subcommittee, they held their meeting last week, and they are preparing a recommendation to go before the fire commission. And we have asked them for that recommendation to go ahead and set the priorities for future budget years. Obviously, we have 36 fire stations in Johnston County, and we have to supply apparatus to all of those except for the municipalities. And we're looking at 2 engines per station. Then we have to get into the special units, the aerials, the rescues, all things like that. And we have asked them to set us up a priority order on that. And they are supposed to bring that recommendation to the fire commission. I do not have that recommendation at this time, but we've asked them to bring that before the data is generated. Everybody's data is everybody's data is due July 31st, so that our staff can look and rank the apparatus based off of cost, based off of years, based off pump mileage, things of that nature. So we should have that recommendation coming to the fire commission very shortly. So he is accurate in saying that last year, based off the data that was generated, Wilson Mills ladder was the highest needed to be replaced. Now, we didn't replace any ladders last year. The board allowed us to replace 2 engines and 6 tankers. And so we're working through that process now to finish those projects. And so now the apparatus subcommittee will be bringing that recommendation for FY27 for what is the next round need to be.
So they're going to be in August at the next fire commission meeting when they'll have that, or when?
That is what we have asked. And so I know that the apparatus subcommittee is continually to meet. Chief Hodge is working on getting that group together, but I do know that they initiated their meetings last week and should be bringing a recommendation to the fire commission.
All right. And okay, and I guess let's see if there's anything else on that. So there is a possibility then that this ladder truck could be the number one overall priority.
That is a possibility.
But we just don't know the answer to that today.
Has the fire commission brought a recommendation about the question at hand?
The fire commission's recommendation was to stay within the policy, and now the policy states that the funding would be reduced because of their fund balance. However, like we said, we've had a couple of fire departments that did have fund balances these first years. This first year is really going to be the big year because we've got some of these fire departments that had capital outlay plans, had money set aside to finish these projects. So they said, hey, let's get some of this fund balance spent down because the money was generated in the communities, and we want to make sure it's spent in the communities this first go-around. And so we have some of those projects, and the recommendation that was initially brought to Wilson Mills was to utilize it to pay down Station 3. What we've got here tonight is Chief Moore offering an alternative for your review.
All right, and I guess this question, I'm probably batting way up the lineup and where I should, but the closest station, will that change any of the dynamics that when that dispatching?
He is correct. It actually adds more. It actually adds more territory to Wilson Mills at this time. Now, some of those areas we're going to be looking at a dual dispatch to make sure that we're getting the adequate staffing, that there may be some disparities across the county, but there are going to be some dual dispatching in some of those areas.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
For the mutual aid agreement, you said for what you had to have for the engine of that to be staffed, but then is there not a mutual aid agreement or a requirement for how many people are on a ladder truck then?
That is not included in the automatic aid agreement at this time.
Is that something that is going to be looked at?
It is something that's going to be looked at. The automatic aid agreement was drafted when everybody was primarily volunteers. That is one of those documents that we've got to work on to get modernized. And, you know, for 90-something% of the calls, our engines can take care of them. There is a large place and a large value for our specialty response vehicles, i.e. the rescues, the ladders, things like that. And to Chief Moore's point, that for a long time they have been cross-staffed because engines take care of most of our calls. And so the automatic aid agreement was written for engine response. And we had special response plans built around the ladder trucks. And so, like Commissioner Harris can speak on Smithfield. Smithfield used to cover half the county, if not all the county at times. But now we have more ladder trucks in the county. And to your point, yes, that does need to be modernized.
So as a board, you've got three options. You can approve his request, you can deny his request, or you can take this under advisement and get more information and more data.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions, because I know none of us up here, you know, we know that public safety is probably, where it falls on our board priorities, let's just be honest, it's a top priority for every one of us. And so I don't think there's any of us up here that want to take any type of safety into question. I guess my question is, with what you just said, bringing the recommendation the end of this month, to give us a little bit more data, I think, and for some that want to crunch numbers and that type of thing, if we had more time to make this decision, is it going to deter? I know you said you had a cutoff of like October in order to get the ladder truck that you guys are hoping for. What is like drop dead date that we'd have to give you an answer? October 1st.
So I want to say about 45,000 I assigned at the same time that another department is, that I'm utilizing and expect. This has been worked on since I walked in the door.
Chief, come back up here to the microphone, if you don't mind, please, so everybody can
My
hear you.
apologies. This has been worked on since I came in the door, because it was already designated in our savings account. Hey, we only bought this truck temporarily to see how we're going to do. And, you know, they weren't doing very well with staffing. I think there was 14 people when I came in the door for 3 stations for 3 shifts. The numbers don't mix.
Right.
So we quickly got it staffed, and we recognized, hey, we have this ladder, let's utilize it. There's a safety thing. The first fire we had, when we ventilated that roof, the young man that came out said, I've never felt the heat get off me like that before. And this was a hoarding condition house, which typically, and has been known to kill firemen, because you just have too much fuel. And when they ventilated that roof, it was within seconds the fire was able to go out. It got the smoke, it got the steam off them, and they were able to continue to do their job. So the importance is there. The date for us to get in there, they want to sign by August 15th. We're looking from the vendor. He said, look, I can give you 30 days, maybe up to 45. October 1st has got to be the deadline. He says, because they're taking orders for next year at August 15th.
Well, and that's what I'm asking, because like I said, it's definitely a compelling argument, for lack of a better word, and I think there was a lot more questions raised tonight, and I would just love to have a little bit more time, if I'm being honest, Chairman, to dig in just a little bit more and make sure that those who have budget questions get their questions answered, and those, you know, if there's any safety, security, whatever measure questions, that we have time to chew it through.
And I'll support, you know, whatever you guys need as far as additional data. I was on the phone before I came just to get today's numbers, right? And I've been doing this my whole life, 35 years. Washington, D.C., sure, it's a lot busier than here. But fires are fires. The operation is still the same. The only difference is your preparedness is what makes it happen, right? We have to take our people home. Our providers are just as important as the civilians we save. And I want to be able to do that. I don't want to be on the news. Unfortunately, on Christmas Day, we lost 2 civilians, right? Maybe we could have been there a little faster if the station was staffed. Now that I'm here, I'm doing everything I can to do it right. And when I look at the taxpayers' money, sure, I can save some money by paying my building off. Or can I save $271,000 to taxpayers' dollars in long-term interest? Wouldn't that be the fiduciary responsibility that I have to act on that? I mean, I'm new to Johnston County. I'm not like you guys that grew up here. But I plan on staying here.
I would concur with that if we had finite numbers. I have not seen mathematically it work yet.
I have a, did you not see the capital plan? I'll give it to you because I have an extra copy. This may help you.
Well,
I guess is the point I'm making.
the other
I feel
problem
like
I've
there's
got here
more
is that we've got a
questions than-
policy that I was told that every chief in the county agreed to, that's part of the fire tax districts.
Yes.
And now you're asking for deviating from that policy, which you have a right to do, based upon how they said to use your fund balance. But it's
Well, they
based
said the
upon
same-
a financial analysis that you admit you had to get somebody else to work the numbers for you, and you had to forecast what rates are gonna be in the market, which is a highly variable thing.
That's right. But even if you take those numbers out, you
Yes, it is. You said you can't put your people on another ladder because there's no accountability.
how do I get them there? That's the problem. Do I just hope that Smithfield is going to have not two people on a medical
Well,
call?
if you call for a ladder and you can have your people there and they show up with their two, have you got enough to operate it for that particular situation?
Sir, they don't dispatch ladders unless it's in the run card that way. They dispatch stations in Johnston County. They bring what they're supposed to bring, which is a mutual aid agreement, like Chief Parker said.
So
It's an
when does,
engine.
if you need a ladder, how do you get it there?
Mine or Clayton's, if it's on the run card, which has only been done in the last 4 months. I recognize this coming in the door, and it was, to me, it's a safety issue. We need it. We need all of it. We need
Yeah,
Smithfield.
but we need to get the capability of all departments up to at least a comfortable, acceptable level, and that's what this new process is designed to do. And if we start deviating from that, then how many, if we open the door for everybody want to come in with their own plan
Yeah.
going forward? I mean,
Well, I don't believe I'm deviating if it's in the policy that I stay within the writing, and I have.
I
I've asked
agree,
for
but I can't get your math to work to show that type of savings is going to be there, and the interest rate is almost negligible together, based on what you've published here.
So let's just say he can't do that interest rate in 3 years from now when we wait for an apparatus committee, which, by the way, only met one time in a year, and that was just the other day. And I would have been there, but I was on a fire in Clayton. So a year has passed since the last time they met. It took 2 years to build 6 tankers, to even spec them. So if we're talking about engines, and then we're gonna move into ladders and specialties, guys, we're talking about 8 years. Sure, by that time, you're right. I'll probably have 5 pickup trucks driving firemen to a fire ground, and hope to God I got equipment that works.
I'd like more information on this myself, because I'm not convinced that this is something that it has the factual basis there to say it's going to save taxpayers money when you weigh risk and everything else involved here.
So if you have a $2.3 million, $2.2 million loan, and you put down 400,000, or you take $1.2 million and put that down, you're gonna tell me that's not longer interest? You don't even need interest to savings account. There's a third option that they told me today. You could take $1 million and put it down now and save $176,000 right at signing. But I'm not gonna try and confuse you with that. If we took the interest and savings accounts alone from it, took it away, 400 or 1.2, that's not hard math to do. You're either financing 1.7 or you're financing 7.
Chairman, can I make a motion to table it? Because I think we all agree, we just want to make sure we're doing what's the best, absolute best thing for the
Yes.
citizens. And I think we just need to have a couple more questions answered and some things confirmed.
Okay, so you're gonna make a motion to take it under advisement? And
Yeah.
okay.
Well, we need a date certain to move it
So
to.
if you're going to table it, you need a date certain. What you could do is take it under advisement, and then we could, as part of the agenda and process under your rules of procedure, we could submit an additional agenda request in the coming weeks to get it back onto your agenda, because without knowing for certain what's going to happen at the end of this month, and knowing that Chief Moore has a little bit of time, I would hate to get it on the agenda, say for August 3rd, and not be ready. I would just recommend that you take it under advisement, and then we could submit an additional agenda request once we have that information from the apparatus committee, the fire commission, and then also that we can get some of these financial questions answered.
Yeah, I would like to be able
She
to do
said that
that.
much more eloquently, but that's what I meant.
So that's your motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you
Yeah,
very
thank
much.
Thank you.
All right, emergency services procurement and purchase of fire tanker apparatus. We got our fire marshal back again, second time in tonight.
Yes, sir.
Go right ahead, sir.
Yes, we have Antioch Chief Hinton and Chief Hocutt, Chief Laster from Micro, Linwood Hodge and Larry Hodge from Bethany, and also Chief Newborn from 5210, which all would be receiving these tankers. We've been working on this a while. Appreciate everybody's attentiveness and appreciate your consideration on this issue. We have requested to purchase 6 tankers through Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Contract, 2 of which will be purchased outright using the fund balance. That would be Bethany and 5210 Fire Department that they had previously set aside for these apparatuses. And Princeton, Four Oaks Micro, and Antioch Fire Departments using funds from the Fire Protection Service District. Had the purchase price of $644,337 per unit with a payment of $149,613 per unit upon completion of the chassis. And this is, like I said, through Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Contract.
All right. Ms. Lesser, you're comfortable with this, and Mr. McLam also?
Yes, sir. If you look at the contracts that we have with the individual fire departments, they are required to use the same procurement methods that we utilize, and group purchasing is one of those methods that are authorized. And these prices are the competitive prices that we had hoped that we would get through this process. So yes, sir, we feel comfortable with that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Johnston? Do I hear a motion from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move it be approved as requested.
Second.
There's a little bit more to it than that, if you wouldn't mind.
To approve procurement and purchase of 4 new Spartan fire tankers for Princeton, Four Oaks Micro, and Antioch Fire Departments not to exceed $644,334 per unit, fulfilled through Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Contract.
$337 per unit. All right.
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And for purposes of clarification, the reason that you did 4, not 6, is because you're not fronting the money for those 4.
Correct.
This is perhaps not the time and place, but why does it take 3 years to get a fire truck? Has every one of them got to be reinvented? I mean, I don't understand. It just,
Parts, sourcing the parts, I think it's just like building materials. I think it's the same thing.
It's taking the companies that long to build them.
I don't understand that. I mean, we can build a car in a day. I'm serious. Why don't the fire service get together and make something happen?
These tankers will be built quicker. They are taking commercial chassis and building the apparatus around those. Now, we have seen in our engines and our ladder trucks, rescues, the trucks that we talked about earlier, that we do need to build custom apparatus based off of shared engineering, but it is such a backlog of projects. Oftentimes that we're able to jump in a spot where a spot has been abandoned in an assembly, but it is, if you start from day one, you're looking at 36 months easily. And we're seeing this on the same side with EMS. It does take.
We need to turn Elon Musk onto this thing. I'm serious. He can get some solid. This is
We can
ridiculous.
start building our own fire trucks. All right, let's move on to the next
Thank
thing.
you.
I have a quick question. I'm sorry, and I really don't mean to drag it on because I know it's super late. But for full transparency and for the public who's watching to understand, they just watched us what seemingly discussed 1 tanker for 25 minutes, and then we just voted on 4. Now, you and I all know, we all know the, but we all know the difference. Could you just do a quick synopsis for the public that's watching and explain
Yes.
the difference of what we just voted on?
I'd be happy to. So, FY 25-26, the apparatus subcommittee got together and they had to analyze all 200 fire apparatus in Johnston County, and they set their priorities to say, what do we do to start stepping into a replacement plan? Our tankers and a number of our engines were greater than 30 years of age, and we were seeing they were non-compatible with each other. Some of them were even homemade tankers that, these fire departments, that before they had the funding that they have today, they had put those together. And we're very proud of our departments and everything they've done. They've been financially responsible, but they were getting to where they were unsafe due to the age, due to the cost of replacing, to repairs, things of that nature. So the priority was to get these 30-year-old apparatus, which are a line in the sand, so we're not going to support anything further than that. Now, we were able to get these 6 together because the fire chiefs got together and agreed on a common spec. And then we went through a couple processes, and we landed with the Sourcewell project that Fire Marshal Johnston just said. And so we were able to move that one quickly. We had a couple departments with engines. They had already started the process. What did they need for an engine to best serve their communities? And we were able to move those along quickly. So those moved along very quickly. Now, when we get to an aerial apparatus, that is a very specialized piece of equipment. And when we're talking about changing from one piece, a specialized piece, to another specialized piece, it raises a lot of questions. And also, there is the question is, do we move forward on this project because of where it's ranked? Again, Chief Morse said that his is, and it was reflected in the data last year. That is the highest ranked ladder at the time. Now, all fire chiefs are going to go to bat for their communities, and as they should, and they all do a good job at that. But we've got to, what is been tasked by the Fire Commission and you, directed to county staff, is we've got to balance that. And we're balancing that across 23 different communities, 23 different fire departments, and we've got to make sure that we're prioritizing those apparatus correctly. My concern is I want to make sure that I can provide you a recommendation as say, whether it's 4 engines a year and a specialty vehicle a year, so that we can start projecting what that fire tax rate is going to be 5 and 10 years down the road, so that y'all can balance everything that you've got outside of emergency services, outside of public safety. So that is what we're still trying to do, is collect the data to make sure that we can project tax rates for y'all and be better stewards of the county's dollar.
Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it.
Good job. Thank you. And thank you to all the fire chiefs and fire folks.
Amen. Thank y'all.
You guys do an extraordinary job. We appreciate you.
Yep. Thanks so much.
All right, let's move on to public utilities, bulk water, and wastewater agreement between Johnston County and the town of Clayton. And y'all feel free to hang out with us if you want to. If you want to talk about wastewater.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Chandra Farmer is coming in to present.
I was wondering, I was wondering where she's been all night. Bless her.
Just over halfway.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We have before you an interlocal agreement for consideration between Johnston County and the town of Clayton. This agreement is specific to several parcels that have already been annexed by the town of Clayton on Castleberry Road. The agreement allows the town of Clayton to provide retail water and sewer service to these parcels when they are developed, and the county would provide bulk water and sewer service to the town of Clayton. The agreement covers the provisions of the agreement and the provisions of the service, and one key point to this is that the town of Clayton already owns wastewater capacity, bulk wastewater capacity with Johnston County, and because of their new plant that's coming online, that existing capacity will not be used from the same location. So their intent is to transfer some of that existing capacity, utilize that to serve this project. This does not include a provision to purchase additional wastewater capacity from the county. In addition, they currently would utilize existing water capacity. We do not have a provision right now for them to purchase additional water capacity until they meet the 80% threshold under our current policy. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have specific to the agreement.
What's the pros and cons? Why should we be against this, or why should we be for it?
So, the pros is this aligns with the board's intent in the past for our, to provide higher density development near the towns and within the town ETJs. Certainly, the con would be the loss of service area for the counties, for the county to be the retail provider on those retail rates that we would lose. And we would receive those through the bulk service with the town of Clayton.
Who initiated this transaction? Was this Clayton?
We have been talking with the town staff for quite some time regarding this project, yes.
So they're going to serve it with their wastewater capacity and whatever capacity of bulk water they're now purchasing from us, or we need to increase their allocation?
We do not currently have plans to increase it right now. Our policy does not allow them to purchase additional water capacity until they're utilizing 80% of what they already own. They are not at that point yet. They're closer to 60% based on their previous average day usage. And then again, on the wastewater capacity, they will essentially be transferring capacity they already use. When they divert flow from the East Clayton industrial area, when some projects are completed later this fall, some of that flow is going to be diverted back to their treatment facility. So they'll utilize the wastewater treatment capacity they already own with us for this project, for this area.
And all this is residential construction?
That is my understanding.
Do we know how many lots or if it's already been approved?
I do not know if this project has been fully approved by the town of Clayton. I do know it has been annexed by the town.
When was it annexed?
Do not know. I don't think the agreement states that.
4 or 5 years ago.
It's been some time ago.
So is this in county service area now?
This is located in the legal boundaries of the Archer Lodge Water District, but the majority of it is in the ETJ it was in the ETJ of the town of Clayton until they annexed it.
Let's get more convoluted about a minute. Commitment for water and sewer, when was that made?
I don't know that there's been a commitment. I mean, this agreement would be the county's bulk commitment, to the town to allow the the service to be provided.
So basically, the development hadn't been approved yet. They know what quantities they need, and Clayton is moving to.
I don't know what type of formal approvals the town of Clayton has issued. I mean, I know we've been reviewing their construction drawings that have been provided. So I assume the town has issued some level of preliminary approval.
Let me rephrase the question. We've said publicly that we're focusing our available water capacity in particular and sewer capacity on job-producing growth in this county because, quite frankly, housing, we've got enough housing relative to the other type of development that we need. This is not taking away from any of our capacity that otherwise would go toward employment, commercial, or industrial opportunities.
This does not require new capacity commitments.
Okay, so it comes out of Clayton's.
I have Clayton's current allocation.
And they've said the same thing. They've got enough houses for right now. Is there any infrastructure that the county owns that's being turned over to Clayton as part of this?
No, there's no infrastructure transaction. The town and/or developer are responsible for installing any new master meters that are required to do the bulk metering between the town and the county. In addition, the town and/or developer are responsible for any upsizing of infrastructure that may be needed now or in the future.
Okay.
There are a couple of pieces of sewer infrastructure that may need upsizing between this project and our existing East Clayton pump station at Highway 42 and Castleberry Road. They will be responsible for that.
Okay.
And all the approvals would go strictly through Town of Clayton for everything. This is just, we're agreeing to the.
That's correct. All of the development approvals are through the town of Clayton.
Yeah, I know they were annexed, and I think if they have construction drawings, I think they're probably ready to go. So I don't know how much more Clayton been approved, but it's probably been 4 or 5 years since the original annexation occurred. I know. To Ms. Farmer's point, I mean, these talks have been going on for a while.
There was some reference to 2021 in the documents. I don't know what that was.
That sounds
in relation.
It may be. I know it has been a few years we've been talking about. I don't know when the formal annexation actually occurred, but it's been some time.
It also mentioned the Fred Smith development. I thought he was no longer development. Is this being done under his former company or?
Yeah. Just his name is not his company.
Yeah.
You said a while ago they were 60%, and the agreement calls for changing it at 80%. As fast as they're growing, do you see that trajectory changing?
For the town of Clayton, I mean, certainly that's part of our local water supply planning that, we do with for our customers, our bulk customers, our retail customers, and with the towns. And we've been doing a lot of water supply planning, with Johnston County, for all of our bulk customers, including the town of Clayton. Certainly, there are decisions they'll have to make on their future water supply and how much of that may come from Johnston County or if they're looking at other means. But certainly, they are going to need additional supply in the future. We know that. We recognize that.
We know that.
Yes.
Might have to find it somewhere else.
All right, any other questions for Ms. Farmer? All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the bulk water and wastewater agreement between Johnston County and the town of Clayton.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I have one final question.
All right,
Is
go
there any downside to the county in approving this? We won't get those retail customers.
Was it retail customers? Yeah.
That was what I was thinking. We're French and water, but they're gonna handle it. We're the wholesaler.
All right. Anything else? All right, all in favor, let it know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The next item on the agenda, I need a motion to recess our regular session and sit as the Archer Lodge Water District Board.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, let me know by saying aye.
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 We will now sit as the Archer Lodge Water District Board. Ms. Farmer?
Yes, so this is a request for the Archer Lodge Water District to consent to the agreement between Johnston County and the town of Clayton for the service to these parcels which on Castleberry Road. Since the parcels lie within the legal boundaries of the water district, the district has to consent because this is another entity that would be providing service within those boundaries.
All right, any
Even though it's bulk service.
Right, the county will provide the bulk service to the town. The Archer Lodge Water District is consenting to this agreement, the arrangement between the town and the county.
Okay.
Any other question?
No.
Discussion? All right. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move to consent to the bulk water and wastewater agreement between the county and town of Clayton as the Archer Lodge Water District Board.
Have a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, then we need to adjourn as the Archer Lodge Water District Board and convene as the Wilson's Mills Water District Board. I need a motion and a second for that. It's getting complicated.
I move we adjourn and reconvene as the Wilson Mills Water District.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, we will now sit as the Wilson's Mills Water District Board.
Thank you, Wilson's Mills Water District Board.
Yes, ma'am.
Before you is a utility services agreement with the town of Wilson's Mills. This was approved by Johnston County and the town of Wilson's Mills on June the 15th, 2026. And this agreement needs to be approved and consented to by the Wilson's Mills Water District and the Little Creek Water District, but we are asking that the Wilson's Mills Water District do it at this time.
All right, any questions for Ms. Lesser? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'm so worried I'm going to read the wrong one now.
Mr. Chairman, I move to consent to the utility agreement with the town of Wilson Mills. Yep. As the Little Creek Water District Board.
Wilson's Mills.
Wilson's Mills.
Excuse me, Little Creek Water District.
Nope.
Wilson's Mills.
We're going to do Wilson's Mills first.
Oh, excuse me. I'm
This is
reading
why
it
April
wrong.
didn't read it.
Yeah.
As the Wilson Mills Water District Board.
It is 9:40.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And then we're going to do this one more time, and then I'm going to ask Ms. Slusser to explain to the public why we sit at all these different boards.
Yeah.
I need a motion to
Mr.
adjourn.
Chairman, I move we adjourn as the Wilson Mills Water District Board and sit as the Little Creek Water District Board.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're going to sit as the Town of Wilson's Mills Water District
Do
Board.
we get paid extra?
I mean, Wilson Mills.
No, you do not.
you don't. Okay.
And so the same request as the previous request, number 14, but just asking you to approve this as the Little Creek Water District Board.
Chairman, I move to consent to the utility service agreement with the town of Wilson Mills as a Little Creek Water District Board.
We have a motion and a second?
Second.
All right, motion second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Ms. Luster, will you please explain to the public why we just did what we did?
I will.
Thank
So many years ago, Johnston County created water districts throughout the county in order to provide water throughout the county. And the reason that they did that was because of funding availability and being able to finance and those sorts of things to make sure that people out in the county who were having failing wells and those sorts of things had the ability to get public water. These water district boards are separate body politics, but the boards are the members of the Johnston County Board of Commissioners. And so what the statutes say about water districts is that the water district service area is the area that has the sole ability to provide services within that water district unless the board agrees to allow somebody else to do it. So if you think about in the Unified Development Ordinance, how we had the municipal transition districts, ETJs, that sort of thing, we would consent to allow those services to be provided. As ETJs grew throughout time, they started at 1 mile, then went to 2 miles in some cases. And so as the ETJs grew, sometimes there was overlap between the water district and the ETJs, and the board's intent has been to push that development where those services already exist and allow those ETJs to continue to develop. In this particular instance, the instance that we talked about before with the town of Clayton, they have utility services that are in that area that are able to provide these services. With regards to this Wilson's Mills agreement, the county through the water districts are providing the water, and then the county is providing the sewer. And this is a way that we can work collaboratively to make sure that the growth is consistent with the comprehensive land use plans and that we are planning appropriately for needs in the future. So that's really what this is all about, and Chandra might have a better way to explain it, but she says I did great. So that's why we did what we did. And the last thing that I need you to do, Little Creek Water District, is to adjourn as the Little Creek Water District and resume the regular session.
Next on my list.
Excellent, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move we adjourn as Little Creek Water District Board and assume Commissioner Board again.
All right.
Second.
Second, motion and second, all in favor? Aye. We are back in normal session. Item number 16 is the Campo UCPRPO project, proposed project discussion. We have our planning director, Braxton. Ooh, it's been a long time.
Put some more acronyms in there, yeah.
Can we do some EIEIO?
Tim Broom, water treatment facility.
Right.
A lot of acronyms there.
I see
So
this, yeah.
that's what those stand for is CAMPO. CAMPO is the Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization and Upper Coastal Plain Rural Planning Organization. Both of these organizations were mandated by general statute by the state to really organize and prioritize projects. We're talking about transportation projects in various regions throughout the state, and Johnston County has a dubious honor of actually being bisected among each one of these organizations' service areas. What we're here to talk about real briefly is some proposed projects, and these correspond with our comprehensive transportation plan and various other plans as well, including but not limited to the Campo Metropolitan Transportation Plan and the Campo Sea Study, which is Southeast Area Study, which includes a large portion of our county, but not quite all of it. So we're in a phase of the year right now where SPOT, or the Strategic Transportation Prioritization kind of season has come about. This is a methodology NCDOT uses to develop the State Transportation Improvement Program. It involves scoring all project types to include roadway, public transportation, aviation, bike ped, and rail on a number of different criteria. And the MPOs, RPOs, and NCDOT division offices contribute to the final project score by assigning local priority points. You all may have seen, and the public may have seen, an announcement by DOT as to where they're calling for public input into this process. So it's not just local government, it's governments, it's not just these planning organizations. It is truly looking for a response from the public as a whole. So the public can go online now. They can submit any projects that they would care to, or make any comment on projects. What staff has put together for you in terms of priority for this upcoming spot, there's a number of them. We'll cover the majority of them here this evening. This is in the west region of the county, in Campo's region, and what we're proposing is to put forward the Cornwallis Road widening project, and these are all, you're seeing map images from our comprehensive transportation plan. Widening to 4 lanes with side path, and this is on the north side of Veterans Parkway. The Cleveland Road widening to 4 lanes with its side path as well, and once again, this is north of the Parkway as well, or Veterans Parkway as well. And Pierce Road modernization, which with a center turn lane. You will not see Pierce Road as highlighted on here. This comes about from what we see as a need in the near future, or in the coming years, as there's been a couple of different developments that have been approved along Pierce Road, and we want to maximize dollars, so the public, that private investment versus public investment. So we will know there will most likely be road improvements associated with those developments that will come along, but it will extend only to the extent it has to serve those developments. And if they've done that, then we can hopefully get those improvements done at a lesser cost to the taxpayers. So that's why we've included that in this round of submissions. Additionally, I mentioned bike ped and even aviation. Our Parks Department has done a tremendous job on our greenways and trails plan, and we've identified some priorities they've identified some priorities for the county, and this is the Neuse River Trail Greenway between Wilson's Mills and Smithfield. Essentially, we go from the SRAC to Wilson's Mills in their community park, and that would build out that trail, get one that'll serve 2 different purposes, one for exercise recreation, and also for mobility. We're at least hoping we'll get that mobility component or transportation component as well. We've also spoken with the folks at the airport, Mr. Harrison that was here earlier this evening, and there's some projects that have been previously submitted and scored and did not score as well, whether that was competitive just because of the competitive nature of the process or the projects themselves and the timing, but we would like to resubmit some of those. One of those being the airport access road midfield area, and this would be funded, most likely be funded through the Upper Coastal Plain RPO and airport taxiway rehab and widening. On that screen, you will see down in the bottom left corner, in the purple with the airplane insignia there, that is the airport, and so that's what we're looking at for the airport for the time being. I think the final project here, or next final project, is the US 70 Business East corridor, just outside of Smithfield and running to where it merges with US 70 highway. And this is to add a center turn lane from I-95 to that US 70 East along that entire corridor. Once again, there is development that is occurring, and as we saw earlier tonight, the county facilities is a part of that. It pairs with improvements already made associated with the interchange of US 70 business and I-95, as well as other growth that is occurring, and we'd like to maximize those dollars and minimize the taxpayer dollars as well at the same time. And finally, we have for you another bike pad or non-roadway project. It's the Neuse River Bridge at US 301 to the Rosedary Nature Preserve. So this is a greenway project, and there are some improvements that need to be made at that bridge to ensure that we can get this greenway, which would be part of the Mountains to Sea Trail, as well as connect and intersect with the East Coast Greenway, which obviously runs up and down, or will eventually run the full length of the East Coast along those border states. So we would, this is what we have for you this evening in potential projects. We have some other things that are that we're working on with Campo specifically, and this is a rail feasibility study or a station feasibility study. We have, there's been some prior dollars budgeted, but we're looking to partner with Campo and maximize or have them hopefully bring some funds to the table as well, and we will be looking for them to be the lead on that project as well. I'm glad to answer any questions you may have.
I have a comment. The director of Upper Coastal Plain, RPO, contacted me last week. She wants to convene a meeting about the airport stuff with maybe Dave Harris and maybe you two guys. She wanted to do it to see if we're all working together to maximize the possibility of getting those things scored well.
Absolutely. We can certainly, I'll reach out to Ms. Roman, and we'll see if we can get that scheduled as soon as possible.
Yeah, I would just suggest that we include Campo, and I'm not, and I was going to bring this up later, but I think that we need to really evaluate which organization will better suit us as far as enabling us to get points and under the system. I think that's probably Campo, but I think we need to have a discussion, and I would say let's have them, everybody at the table, and then we can have that discussion.
I agree.
We'll certainly do that.
Rustin, do you know what the pink dash lines are for on this map that we have on the Cleveland? Do you know what those pink dash lines represent?
Yeah, that pink dash line is a project that has been identified as needed, and we call that the new Cleveland Road Connector. So this would connect Cleveland Road just to the really the southeast of the interchange on-ramp, the new interchange on-ramp. That project may stay or it may go. We don't know yet. Campo's doing some new models, or running some new models on that to evaluate the traffic and congestion in the area since the opening of the interchange. We know that has helped, but we want to plug in some growth numbers, more realistic growth numbers, and ensure we've captured all of that before we shelve that project. The only reason we're looking at potentially shelving that project is cost. Originally, when it was initially proposed, we were looking at a four-lane road there through that area, and the cost today, we would only get 2 lanes out of that. So just the cost increase, and this has been some time ago. It's not something that's popped up in the last couple of years. This has been talked about for some time, knowing the interchange was coming. It never really moved on it, never submitted it to get it prioritized for a potential STIP inclusion. Reason being, we wanted to see how the traffic, how everything reacted with the opening of that interchange.
Perfect. I know we received several emails about it over the years, and I just want to make sure nothing had changed when I saw that on the map. Thank you for that clarification.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that the number I heard a couple of weeks was $80 million for that 2-lane road. There's a lot of issues with it that make it that expensive, but that's what we're looking at. I think one of the reasons DOT would like for us to reconsider.
Yeah, that's a large chunk of change for that type of project. The challenges there really are mostly environmental. From there's environmental feature, wetland riparian feature that has to be bridged, and that's a large cost, and we all know the cost is continuing.
It wasn't listed, so I just wanted to make sure I hadn't missed anything when I saw it on there that hadn't changed. Thank you.
All right.
Absolutely.
Any other questions for Mr. Newton? All right. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
All right. Item number 17 is we need a voting delegate for the 2026 North Carolina Association of County Commissioners Conference. Mr. Lawler,
So I was usually volunteer for that position, and I think Commissioner Godden has always been the alternate. And this year I have a wedding to officiate that afternoon, so I will not be